Welcome to Group B of the round of 8 of GSL. This is where all the Protoss are. We put them all in one group so they can kill each other. Isn't that nice? In the bottom right, it is herO. And on the top left, we do have Creator. So the actual Group B, which I probably should have checked beforehand. What was it? Is these two guys. And then... Dude, where's my car? We'll never die thanks to that joke. It is herO, Creator, DRG, and Dark. So by all the Protoss, I mean all 2 Protoss are in this group. Of course, there's also, it's actually kind of a, well, not exactly a balanced round of 8, but it's 3 Zergs, 3 Terrans, and 2 Protoss. That's actually pretty good, actually. David Kim wins again! We'll see who makes it to the round of 4, though, because if a Protoss does manage to not make it, hello. Okay, this is actually very interesting. All right, hold on here. Let's do away with any of the macro talk and focus on some of the micro going down here. We got a cannon rush from herO against Creator, who was attempting to go for a low ground expand. You do not see this very often because, well, 1, pro gamers are usually pretty good at defending cannon rushes, and then 2, the possibility of your opponent not low ground expanding is pretty high still in PvP, despite MaxPax's attempt to change it. And high ground PvP cannon rush, yeah, it goes back to the pro gamers are usually good at defending it, so it doesn't usually work. You don't want to cannon rush against someone who's more than likely to know how to defend it. And actually, even with the low ground situation and the little pocket that herO found here, it doesn't work. Creator responds very appropriately. herO, I'm sure, could have done something better with the cannon rush. It's actually kind of funny. You know, we had Zest do a couple of cannon rushes in PvP during his prime, and he was kind of bad at it, if I recall correctly. It was actually pretty bad. Even when it looked like it was going to be really good, it was pretty bad. So you had the likes of, like, Fear Dragon, who is not as good as Zest generally, who actually say that, you know, I think correctly I could have done a better cannon rush. I actually would 100% agree. Zest's cannon rush have been ugly. That could have probably been done better, but I am not a cannon rusher, so I cannot say exactly why it could have been. All I know is that now herO is in a wee bit of a weird situation. You significantly delay your gateway, which significantly delays your cybernetics core, which significantly delays your technology. And Protoss is pretty big on tech. Throwing out zealots to your opponent doesn't work out for very long. So, herO's in a bit of trouble. Besides that, you also did now let Creator have that low ground expansion. Like, he now has a very safe, very fast expansion. He is missing a gas, and that was the one thing herO was able to do before he officially was over with the probe. But, still pretty bad. Creator Zealot's also causing some problems. It is kind of funny, though, just because both players getting these Zealots before their 7X core could really start working. So it, you know, it didn't really delay the more important, better stalkers, I think. And now they're on the way out. Creator getting a scout with the zealots run by as well. So while that didn't kill a bunch of probes or delay any mining, really, he did get a scout. He saw that it was actually 2 gateways, no attempt to expand, and with everything up to 3.5 minutes, basically, showing herO still on 1 base. You might want to assume that he's still on 1 base. He's going to 1 base, you know. And certainly we know that because herO has a proxy pylon out there. And it is going to be a proxy robo. Heck yeah. It might be 40 seconds later, but who cares? We're doing it. You know, the real unfortunate thing would be if Creator still loses this game. It would feel very unfair. He is going to go for his own robo. Probably one of the safer things to do. Proxy Gateway also coming up here for herO. Creator doesn't know 100% this is what his opponent is doing, but he does seem to be on it. This probe has been scouting around almost everywhere, and it's about to get a scout into the natural to see that there is no expansion. So that's the confirmation. And you can pretty much assume if someone's, like, frontal all-inning you, there's not a lot of sneakiness to this, that it's probably going to be a robo. That's the real front, just punch you in the face type of all-in from the Protoss. You know, Proxy Stargate probably wouldn't have gotten herO enough damage. So the probe knows what's up, pretty much, and Creator needs to be careful not to get overconfident here. For instance, that one pylon is looking a little sketch, so he has a backup pylon now. Backup shield batteries, even chronos the warp gate in its last 5 seconds to ensure that it's as fast as possible. I guess that was on purpose. Kind of looks a little weird now. Hopefully he has a Chrono for his Immortal, and he does, so more power to him. Been saving his Chronos for the actual defenses. Has another one, so maybe a second Immortal right after, or maybe the Warp Prism. Here comes the attack from herO. It's finally ready to go. Force Field already shaving off a Stalker there. Not too shabby. Frontline Shield Battery is a goner. That was probably expected. Cybernetics Core. You don't want to lose that as fast as it seems like it's going to be lost. So that's a little unfortunate. Last few units from that being worked in. Obviously, the Immortal doesn't need a Cybernetics Core, and that is what's most important. Force Field also not pushing that Immortal to the front means that it will live. herO getting his own Adepts at this point. It's obviously going to throw them into the main base to try and complicate matters for Creator. Creator already on top of things. Is starting to build a wall. However, that Immortal is about to dick him over. Yeah, okay. He can build it, but he's not going to build it. All right. Well, seems like he's actually okay with the Adepts going into the main base, and there's somewhat of a strategy on that. No. Creator not paying attention. Woo! Fortunately, no! I was going to say fortunately the Force Field wasn't there, but it was! Holy shit, the Immortal barely alive. Oh my god. Okay, that was a huge mistake, because that's still now one shot. You know, without its shield anyway. That's still a problem. Oh boy. I was going to try and say, letting the Adepts in if they're nowhere close to your mineral line is actually not a bad call. Then it just splits the army power. And you can, maybe kill the Adepts, or they just decide to evacuate, which is exactly what happened. Just very unfortunate that Creator doing that. Stopped looking at his front army. Let the Immortal take a lot of damage. Cybernetics Core has been rebuilt for Creator. It is a fairly fast building structure. Warp Prism is now out for herO, though, and he's going to elevate his units up to the high ground. Ditto on the side of Creator, though, so a very quick response from him. Third Immortal, rather, is on the way as well. Obviously, now it's a micro battle. Simply put, though, herO with more units on the high ground. Shield already out of juice. Do we have the overcharge ready to go? We don't have the energy for it, so that's pretty awkward. And the probes will have to be pulled to ensure victory. Things are getting a little dicey here. herO, obviously, on his last hope to win this game after a failed cannon rush, is doing some serious work. The Force Field, taking advantage of Creator's own SimCity, was pretty baller. But 3 Immortals still standing strong against only the 2 of herO means that Creator will hold. Yes, he sacrificed 9 probes and is out even on workers, but with that extra Nexus providing so much more saturation, herO is pretty much out of luck. He's going to try and go for some probe kills, maybe some pylon kills as well, and the pylons would not be bad at all. Yeah, that would successfully depower all production if you got both these pylons. However, the Immortals of Creator already prepared for that and defending. Creator even pushing out here, and I don't know if herO saw that. Okay, he did. He's sending his Observer over. But it is coming behind to kill the Robo, potentially. Creator mis-microing his Warp Prism, however, while doing that, loses his micro potential. He still has a lot of army here. 2 Immortals to 2 Immortals. Sorry, 1 Immortal. herO's Immortal got picked off, and his second, third, whatever it is, not going to be able to be pumped out. Creator now bringing all of his army forward. The rest of his own Immortals coming in here. The Warp Prism of herO trying to be the thing that saves the day. But there's just not enough units, man. 4 Immortals pack quite a wallop. And Creator will, in fact, win game 1. herO's 3-gate Robo, no doubt less powerful than it should be. Because of that cannon rush not going well. Let's see if herO omits the cannon rush next time and does better. Game number 2 here. Top left, herO. Bottom right's Creator. Creator gets that game number 1. Successful defense on the cannon rush, and then successful defense on the Robo play, which you could see still got a little tricky. The Adepts add that complicating factor about defending your main base. They almost were the big brain reason that herO did win. The Force Field, again, abusing the semi-sim city that Creator had made was pretty cool. Using your opponent's weapon against them is always a pretty cool move. It wasn't enough. There was just too much there for Creator, who was doing basically the same thing a little bit later. But still the same thing with Defender's Advantage on his side. Pro pools, shield batteries, especially. GoPro, thank you for the 56 months. So it's now herO's turn to go for a low ground expansion, figuring there's no way in hell Creator would go for a cannon rush. And he's right about that, because very few people would try. I assume herO practiced the cannon rush against the low ground expand. He probably saw that Creator prefers it on that map, and might be as simple as he did acknowledge his own mess up. That happens actually quite a bit you'll hear the pro gamers interviewed after, and they'll say, my plan was perfect, but my execution was off. Because I could see the plan being really good. Cannon rush against low ground expansion, but no, that was pretty ugly, actually. And so herO goes for, still, you know, I would still say the forward low ground gateway expansion is a little more unorthodox in PvP, but clearly it's an accepted form of action nowadays. So definitely not as weird as a cannon rush, but he is going for the slightly odder style. 2 gateways from creators, kind of still the bread and butter of PvP, particularly for the Koreans, I would say, as well. And creator puts down a little cheeky hidden pylon just to get herO panicking a little bit. Like, is he going to try and do the same thing that I just did to him? He's going to proxy Stargate me? What's going on here? Actually, nothing. Not even proxied so that Adept could come in. But then creator holds his probe over here. I was going to say, you can't wait that long to build your 3rd pylon. For the probe to actually have left and then built the 3rd pylon there. That's kind of crazy. So no, that was just waiting, I guess. And it sees that this is a low ground expansion. 1 gateway, actually expanding. No trickery here. And escapes. Same cannot be said for herO's probe, which looks 100% dead. Nexus will come down for creator, so something that herO was not able to scout. And remember, he still thinks that there's a 2nd pylon out there, potentially doing nefarious things. If he could scout it and confirm that nothing's attached to it, then it would be a lot of load off his shoulders, but can't do that. Kind of moving forward, looking for the Adepts, of which he will not find, but he had already placed a shield battery, so still the timing of it is perfectly acceptable. Is he gonna let that finish? I guess so. I guess why not? Poor Stalker won't be allowed home. Sorry, buddy. Oh, and that wasn't a wall. herO and his not successful walling as a full-time professional Protoss. It's the thing that really makes him the most endearing Protoss possible. Everyone loves herO, because he shows that even humans can win StarCraft games. Not just immaculate pro gamers. Alright, Adept's obviously not doing anything for creators so far, but he has actually, I believe, skipped a lot of fighting units, so he's gotten the cheaper sentries, which are now better as well in the early game. Gone into a Twilight Council, hallucinated Oracle. You know, if this was actually, again, a proxied pylon with a Stargate proxied too, that Oracle would have already appeared, so I wouldn't be surprised if herO doesn't panic whatsoever. Because even if this gets like a half a second pro pull, that's still nice. And it won't. Yeah, he knows. Even if it was real, the Void Ray would have taken care of it very, very quickly. So the Oracle does get in, scouts another gateway, but then misses the timing of the Twilight Council. herO will go ahead and grab his actual very real Oracle and get a 2nd one. First one is deflected thus far. Creator obviously knowing that a Stargate was there. Didn't know there was a Void Ray first, but now has the full picture of what herO has done, or almost, rather, with the Stargate. He knows the full picture. He does not know about the Twilight Council coming on up here. He's about to scout it with now a hallucinated Phoenix. Now he's got that confirmation. Twilight Council, the Twilight Council. Blink on the way for herO, or for creator. Presumably for herO, and it is. 2 Oracles, little sketch. Shield battery's not done, but even if it was, putting those units there. And this is actually a kind of normal PvP. Which, you know, after the first game being what it was, a little surprising. And it is herO, and it is PvP in Korea. We got ourselves at least 2 bases. Here we go. Here it is. All right, little proxy pylon action coming out for a creator. And this is pretty much if you... Well, first of all, there's a 3rd gateway. So first of all, you know, there is not the fastest 3rd Nexus you could ever get. There is a greedy 3rd Nexus in PvP. 2 gateways, then your production. But... it's also a matter of, do they warp in with the gateways or not? So that's something that is kind of hard to track. You can, especially with the Oracles, get revelations on the tech buildings and the amount of structures generally, unless they're proxied. But to actually count how many Stalkers have been warped in and how many resources have surely gone to Army as opposed to economy and technology, that's a little more difficult. But it looks like Creator, despite grabbing a proxy gateway, is really just getting it to get it. He's actually building probes, third Nexus, obviously, Forge, as well as the Robo coming down too. So it you know, you wouldn't really call this a commitment, although he has made a good number of Stalkers. herO, not too far behind on the Stalker count, is looking for a potential fight, finds the Adept shading on forward. With that Void Ray and its potential prismatic alignment, you know, it does add a lot, unless it dies. It added something. And it looks like Creator still wants to take this battle. Blink down for both parties. herO with his own fast reinforcements, obviously. It's 13 Stalkers and 13 Stalkers. herO has the potential to back away and defend with a shield battery, though. So he is looking to maybe take the fight if he can, or just distract. As the Oracles go into the main base. There we go. Now they're shooting together. However, it looks like the Stalker war did not go well for herO, who actually lost sight of his opponent because of that brush. 6 probes go down for Creator. He is now behind by, well, about 6 or 7. He's going to be ahead on that +1. Great, but what he doesn't know is that herO is going for a Dark Shrine. Yeah, he does not know about that. Tucked into the way, way back. That is why herO doesn't have his own +1 started up, and he doesn't have a Robo either. So actually, if Creator had gone for it, then might have been deadly. Of course, 2 Oracles are still alive. Plenty of Revelation. Plenty of chances to also snipe a couple of probes. And Stasis Traps are actually very helpful in PvP. He might want to recall those just for safety. Or dive with them. As long as they don't die. It would be nice for herO to distract his opponent as much as possible. Maybe even draw out little army fights in the middle of the map so that there is really nothing at home prepared for the DTs. But currently, oh, very, very unfortunate. The Observer placed kind of good, actually. I gotta compliment that and steal that. That was there to see both angles of attack, but it also saw both angles of a DT sneak. That was actually pretty nice. So the DT doesn't get to do anything. The first one had actually kind of slipped on by, but got blocked by an Immortal, and DTs are a complete failure. Now, they're DTs on 3 bases, so it's not like losing DTs when you're trying to commit on 1 base, for instance. Then it's just a disaster. But it is still kind of a pain, as that +1 weapons is a little bit later. No Robo production, so an Immortal that could help out in the future. An Observer, obviously, that absolutely helped out. herO probably not too worse off for not having a Robo right now. Oh, there's the Robo. Producing from the Robo right now. Observer, Warp Prism, still good things to have. Maybe the Immortal less so as we move on into perhaps more Charge Lots and more Archons. Particularly those Charge Lots. Immortals don't really want to be fighting them. +2 starts up lickety-split there for Creator, who is pumping in Chrono Boosts. I mean, he saw the DTs. He demolished the DTs. He knows that that has interrupted herO's build order as far as getting to those upgrades and getting to the technology. herO does take a fast 4th base. Creator's a little bit behind on that. herO also with a substantial number of probes, 77. Just a 59 of Creator. Seems like herO had really pumped out a lot of probes, is ready to transfer them over to saturate this 4th base as well, so his economy is very, very good. In fact, right now, Creator's only benefit are the 2 Immortals, which again, might take terrible shots. It might be shooting at Zealots and being kind of useless. And then his +2. +2 is about 40 seconds ahead. And he is going to go for a very typical +2 attack. herO, I mean, he's got such a great economy, and he's already been able to use it to get a very good army as well. Wow, look at that. So the army supplies are similar, so this isn't a situation where you're like, well, you made 20 probes, so you have 20 less army supply. Not at all. Oracles do go down there. No more stasis traps. One already popped off, helping herO to a certain degree. herO ahead in supply overall, but it is the probes. With an even army supply and that +2 about to finish. Well, not actually close enough. Creator's taking the fight long before that's done. Zealot on the backside coming through here. herO is helped a little bit by a shield battery, but really not as much as he probably should be. And the Immortals are actually getting some pretty nice shots, tearing down the Stalkers, tearing down the Archons, now tearing down gateways. Creator smells blood in the water here. He's going to go after it. It was Colossus, not Disruptors, popping out of the Robos. And this other Stasis Trap will help to save the day. herO is still ahead on the supply, but now down 15 army supply, down in upgrades. That +2 finally kicked in for Creator. And the Colossus, now 2 Colossus, are they going to be enough to help? I feel like the Immortals are also going to be good if they actually get in range of those. And they do not have Extended Thermal Lance. That is not done as of yet. Zealots, however, are getting top of those Immortals. A little bit better for herO. But then on the backside, those Stalkers released from the Stasis Trap come in after the Warp Prism. Now trying to get those Colossus as well. Battles happening on either side of the screen here. But the Colossus, too vulnerable to really contributing this fight, go down. And despite what looked to be a really fantastic position for a blue Protoss, he had an even army supply, defender's advantage, and 20 more probes. And he fought before the upgrade had even kicked in. Oh, great disruptor shot, but a little too late. He is losing. herO is going to go down 0-2 here versus Creator. Bit of an upset if you ask me. And it's actually kind of crazy how that went down. Even army supply, even upgrades when they actually first took the battle. Shield battery helping herO a little bit, but didn't seem like the units were connecting in ways that they were supposed to from either side of the battle. And then Colossus, maybe not the right choice there either. Of course, disruptors are one-hit wonders. Sometimes they're completely useless, where the Colossus at least always gets its shots off, but that was also a substantial amount of resources into technology that didn't actually affect the battle from the get-go. So that could have been probably even more army supply than his opponent if he had just continued warping in nothing but gateway units. Well, an interesting result to start things off. Let's go to the ZVZ. So we had a PvP. Now it's time for some ZVZ. In the bottom right, we have DRG. And in the top left, we do have Dark. So this is a hard one to call because as far as the stature of both players, Dark has probably more impressive results and prestige, and overall seems to hit a little heavier than DRG. But the fact that it's a ZVZ really kind of takes that away, and then it's just a crapshoot. In fact, DRG pretty freaking good at ZVZ, so I would actually be quite scared for Dark. Overall, if DRG were to win this, I would still call it kind of an upset. Just again, Dark has so many accolades behind him, and DRG's accolades are kind of in the past. In fact, pretty far in the past. He's been back from military for a very long time, and his heyday was 2013? Oh my god, was it that long ago? When was him versus Genius? Oh my god. Anyway, so people obviously still love him, and occasionally he gets some good results, and occasionally he knocks people out that people don't expect him to. So people still like DRG, but he's not a GSL champion anymore. Or well, Dark hasn't been one in a while either. Maru's kind of taken, he's hogging all of the trophies. But Dark obviously getting a lot farther in the World Championships and the Dream Hacks and all that good stuff. Yeah, growing gray hairs just from counting how long it was. I'm pretty used to saying, you know, these guys have been playing since 2015, or they've been playing since 2010. But then to actually think of when someone was dominating and to have to go all the way back to, I believe, Wings of Liberty. I'm pretty sure, actually. So not even 2013, probably 2012. Maybe even before that. I'm actually going to look this up. I feel like I'm going crazy. Because I really don't remember Swarm Host from DRG. I'm just like 99% sure about that. But then, when was that? What did that mean? I can't find it very easily. Fortunately, no one's cheesing each other, and it's EVZ, so try to multitask appropriately. Figure looking at at Genius's Liquipedia is easier finding his GSL results than DRG, who has played now much longer than his buddy, his old buddy pal. Let's see here. He was GSL Team League preseason, Team League season. There we go. 2012, March 3rd. Time is going too fast, y'all. It's going too fast. He won about $18,000 for getting second place to DRG, though. Not bad. Anywho, so it's been a long time. What I was trying to say. And Dark has actually been pretty much on top of the Zerg list since his maybe like 2014 results. He actually came in on Slayers 2012 and then was kind of just like a good Zerg, but not, you know, Not really have note, I suppose. And then just got cooler and better and cooler and better. And then, you know, GSL champion, right? As well as, more importantly, world champion. So, Dark is the favorite. But when it comes to ZVZ, I'm then leaning towards DRG, actually, who currently is killing his own drone. So I'm going to take that back. A little bit of miss micro going on here. We also had some drones pulled to the fronts that looked like they were about to transfer, and they were just waiting for confirmation that it was safe. It's actually kind of odd because these overlords have been around checking out any amounts of Ling coverage, and they've seen very few Lings come across the map, so I feel like those drones are just a misrally as well. He just had a double whoops-a-daisy. Misrally and almost killing his own drone. They both are playing actually rather safe as far as the opener goes. No one went for a large Ling swell, but now they are both going into what seems to currently be what ZVZ is. It felt like for a while we had some maybe gentleman's agreements as far as the first 7 minutes of the game, which was 3 hatch, banelings for safety, and then an evolution chamber for +1 before even you build the Roach Warren. Just because you could fit it in and then worry about building army later. And that hasn't been the case for a long time, it feels like. So straight into roaches, and then now you're either going to attack your opponent with your own Roach Warren, or you're going to defend their attack, as it's gotten even more aggressive than it was. It's always been a bit of a complicated matchup, or at least for the last few years. It's just a lot of mind games, and there's a lot of build orders you got to keep track of. But now it feels like it's just, woof, pedal to the metal, man. Dark is actually building quite a few Lings, has built quite a few, going back in the drones at this point. Thinks he has the timing here before those roaches are out. DRG managing to avoid a complete surround. Still not ideal as the Lings getting on top of the drones. That was confusing, but yeah, that was a dark baneling. Just injured up a bunch of drones, and of course those Lings are gonna nibble. 7, 8, 9 drones already going down. Another baneling about to hit as well. Oh, those are so many weak drones. And Dark is trying to get that shift queue on all the weak ones. 13, 15, 16 drones going down, all because of a couple of banelings. Literally 2 banelings and about 20 Lings. That was not a substantial commitment from Dark, I would say. That was more than 20, to be fair. But 40 Lings overall in the game, doing that damage at this time. Really nicely done. Dark does still have to worry about the counterattack, but DRG, despite having a lair, no time to get that roach speed. It's a slow counterattack with those roaches. Dark has banelings, so the Ling presence here from DRG isn't the scariest. More about whether or not he could collect his forces all together in time on Dark's side of the map, and well, the answer seems to be no, he cannot. But he did just pressure Dark, force Dark to make his own army, obviously, and tried to sneak up on the drone count because of it. But Dark already realizing, with all the Overlord coverage here, hey, that's not a lot. I've already built enough. I'm going to go back into droning. Just rushes ahead on the drone count once again. Huge spike right there as the drones are being pulled and killed and whatnot. And that should stay up in the red for a while yet, as DRG is simply put just later to the droning. He actually, I think, got supply blocked, so he was probably wanted to during that entire time and then wasn't able to, despite having the much faster lair. I mean, that lair was actually really fast. Didn't get to comment on it too much because the Lings are more important, but that was a much faster lair than Dark. Didn't really get roach speed all that fast. It's only about 30 seconds faster, if that. We do have +1 missile on the way for both parties, actually kind of advantageous to Dark on the timing. And then Overlord speed, yeah, okay, that is useful in ZVZ. I wouldn't say that's a benefit that DRG has, the fact that it's almost already done. Not looking super great for DRG, but honestly not too bad either. I mean, I could see him still amassing a Roach Ravager army and still getting a better fight angle. But Dark, I think, has done things a little bit quicker, a little bit wiser, and well, actually, it's absolutely the Lings and the banelings. If the 2 banelings had not connected on piles of drones, those Lings get easily half or less of the drone kills. The baneling making them almost like, yeah, 1 shot from a Ling just is real pain in the gut there. And DRG is trying to recover from that. And in terms of the supply and the overall look of the game, it looks like he has. Just not sure it's totally accurate. Burrow and Tumbling Claws is on the way. Dark actually getting a lot of Overlords ready to swell with the roaches. Has kept most of the economy on his side, but with the natural ebb and flow of ZVZ, first I make 10 drones, then you make 10 drones, and I make 5, and then you make 8, and then they've actually evened up on the worker count. They've also all evened up on the 4th base timing for basically, let's call it a success. And it is Dark who's going to be going for those double upgrades a little bit faster. So that is his advantage. But DRG does have Tunneling Claws. And it's a graphical upgrade. So you'll be able to see it. And see these ears in the pro scene. Much better at seeing that than I am. But you can always still even preemptively burrow them. And then just scatter them across the map. I mean, honestly, even if they know that you have Tunneling Claws, keeping eyes on all 4 of your bases is kind of difficult. Overload speed not done for both parties, by the way, so everyone's just moving Overlords around. The minimap's a little circus right now. Overlord drop was cool from Dark. It is a very low commitment drop, only 4 roaches. And some scouting down as well. Currently, that +1 Carapace being so much faster is looking really nice for Dark. It's like 50 seconds faster. DRG. Not yet burrowing anything to send them out. Oh, wait. Oh, there we are. There we are. There's a handful of roaches. Literally just 4. They're going to run right into an Overseer, though. Aren't they? Where's the Overseers? There we go. I mean, Dark made enough to cover all of his bases, so it just was a matter of getting them over there. Perfectly timed. This game is actually really quite even. It's like there's got to be something that Dark had from having the superior economy when he did, and it seems like what that is actually the gas count. The Carapace also was faster, but that also has to do with DRG choosing Tunneling Claws, I would say, right? But yeah, the gas is much better for Dark. Minerals a little better, and he is already investing into not just the Infestation Pit, which DRG is also doing, but he's also going for the Hydralist end. So obviously trying to get 2 Lurkers as soon as possible, and having a gas bank for that is important. A DRG is trying to get something done. He's killing Lings, almost getting the Queen, looking after the hatchery now. At least a distraction as the main army comes across the map. We got 2 different roach battles going on here. Carapace is done for Dark. +2 missile about to finish for DRG. A little bit faster than his opponent, so upgrade's actually kind of even for maybe 10 seconds as the battle ensues here. +2 missile also finishing up here for Dark. Everyone's about to be on 2-1. Let's just put it that way. In about 5 seconds, it'll be even Stevens. 5 seconds. There we go. Now it is 2-1 to 2-1, and now it's just who takes the better battle. It's 55 roaches for Dark against just a 39 of DRG, but he has more Ravagers. He also now has 10 more drones as Dark lost some, but I think also just made so many buildings, so that must be it. Well, it's also going to give him more room to max out with the actual army as he tries to also get Lurkers. That could be his next follow-up army. He's actually going to take this engagement, seeing an opportunity here. The Ravager's a little vulnerable as the Dark Roaches got on top of them. And that's why he feels so confident. Oh, and the backside as well. Dark got Tunneling Claws too, and is coming in for us around. The Ravager's now very vulnerable. Pretty good move there from Dark. DRG does have more army, though. Where the hell is it? Now coming back as well. I guess the Roaches of Dark had somehow circumvented DRG's scouting. Initially, they were basically chasing after each other. And that was pretty sick. Dark able to get that surround before DRG was able to return home. DRG also with a kind of questionable burrow right there. That was weird. But with enough of a bank to get back up in supply, rebuild the Ravagers, and rebuild the Roaches. The problem now is that he's rebuilding an inferior army. Dark is well on his way to getting to Lurkers. He can't right now as he's fully maxed again on Roaches himself. And he still wants to wait for those superior upgrades as well, the Lurker upgrades themselves. But that is a potential follow-up to any of these battles. You know, if they go really poorly, maybe you don't. If they go okay, you probably do. And if they go really well, I guess you win the game, so it doesn't matter. And it seems like Dark is taking a very good battle, once again corralling the Ravagers, the weak part of the Roach army. And that might just be it. DRG down by 60 supply without a bank here. Dark overpowering DRG is how I would put it. But I think his position always seemed so stable, and DRG's always seemed a little more unstable. And despite his attempt to sneak in a couple of early Tunneling Claws earlier than Dark's, they never once worked out. GRG might have been able to max out, might have been able to bank of his own, might have been able to match the hatcheries and match the drone count. But at the end of the day, there was some amount of resources gained by Dark for killing everything that DRG had with those Lings in the early game. And if Dark had messed up an engagement or missplit, didn't protect his 4th base correctly, something like that, DRG, I think, could have come back. But Dark did everything right. Pretty baller. And now game 2 here onto Golden Aura. Bottom right down a game. It's DRG. Top left we have Dark. summed it up towards the end of the last game, but Dark just seemed to be in a slightly more powerful position, and then obviously in a way more powerful position. He not only won the Roach battles, but he had all that technology behind it. So if he took a really bad battle, if he got really overconfident when he shouldn't have been, and DRG won with like a 30 army supply lead, Dark probably chooses not to go into Lurkers at that point. Probably just remaxes instantly on Roaches and is safe, is fine. But still would have the technology behind anything that did go awry. Didn't need it. Going with Roaches. And so it doesn't bode too well for DRG. Who, well, I don't want to say I don't favor against any of the Protoss, but if he loses here, he's facing herO, not Creator. And, obviously herO lost the PvP, so kudos to Creator on that one. But then you talk about their PvZs, which is both of the upcoming matchups. I think we all think of herO's PvZ as better. Even though Creator is no slouch, and at times even looks to be one of the torchbearers of the Protoss. One of the last ones remaining. So we gotta hope that he's the savior here. But generally, herO's better. So it's like one of those GSL situations where a little bit of an upset happens, and then suddenly that second chance, that loser's match, you're actually facing one of the best players in the group. But they might be having an entirely off day, and maybe herO loses to DRG, actually. I would be scared as DRG. I feel like he'd prefer going up to Creator, but I haven't checked their stats. On the flip side, Dark is probably pretty happy with the first result. The herO and Dark play too often, so just for the sake of interrupting some monotony, now he's facing Creator instead. That'd be pretty nice, actually. I also think that Dark and herO, I feel like, are 50-50. They play so many games, and they play so many different types of games. Best of 5s, best of 7s, online, offline. It's crazy. And that's a cool matchup for that reason, but probably a little scarier for Dark, who I would assume has a better chance versus Creator. I'll look up the stats when we get there. I'm looking a bit into the future. Of course, DRG could come back, win this 2-1 still, so don't want to take that away from him. But when Dark comes out flexing like that, he just looks strong and stable and confident. I feel like he doesn't change midway in a group. He either looks kind of shaky in the entire group, or he looks strong in the entire group. Both players, once again, 3-hatching it up. Nothing super sus going down here. Bailing coming down first for DRG, but I think these are both just so-called safety bailing nests. And I do expect that Roachborn into the Zerg shuffle. The Zerg drone, Roachlings, drones, Roach queens, Roach. Fun keeping track of Zergs. Dark, unlikely to get the same Ling attack, though. Gotta throw that out there. DRG was able to semi-recover from that. Still was the thing hanging on to him as he tried to climb up the mountain, It was tugging at him the entire time, but I doubt that will happen again. So perhaps DRG has a smoother first 6 minutes. Both players doing exactly what it seems to be. DBZ meta. Dark actually hides his Roachborn a little bit, which can oftentimes be that one signifier that they're going to be aggressive with it, as opposed to defensive. Again, if it was an evolution chamber, then you would know they're really prioritizing that macro game. That's a dead reveal right there. But Roachborns on either side, it's like, well, you could make the Roaches, you couldn't make the Roaches, you could drone, maybe not, maybe yes. Hiding that Roachborn, making DRG worry that there could be something else even maybe more suspicious, sometimes be a good plan. DRG got a pretty good scout into the main, but did not actually scout the Roachborn. It's still really weird, though, because you don't scout a lair. You don't scout the evolution chamber anywhere. That could have been Evo in the main for a +1 melee. Feels like it's old at this point, but it could have been. Could have been at the front lines, wiggly jiggly. And he sees nothing, which I actually kind of think is enough of a reveal. They see absolutely nothing. They probably have a Roachborn somewhere. And that would be correct. And both players moving on here. No attempt at really sneaky attacks going down. Lings were trying to get something done, but DRG was already on top of it, so definitely not losing the same amount of drones as last game. Evolution chambers ended up being put down at similar times here. Ling number 2 from DRG gets that full scout, confirms what he was already probably pretty sure about And then it's a very even game besides that. No dramatic losses, no dramatic backpedaling of decisions. You know, I made 20 roaches. Oh god, what do I do now? Both players made an okay number of units, and then now we're droning. Droning. DRG droning a little bit harder because Dark is a little supply blocked. Oopsie poopsie. You should probably make more more overlords. There we go. Alright, so, okay. A little bit up there for DRG. He was the one that was a little later droning in that last game. Now he's a little ahead on it. At 71 drones, too. I imagine he'll just pump out nonstop roaches. Roach speed starts up for one player, but is notably missing from the other. Okay, good. I was getting a little worried. Lair had been done for a while, but now both players onto the roach speed, onto the missile, onto the overlord speed as well. DRG's already done. I mean, this is a mirror matchup, except for that supply block. This is a very much mirror matchup. Overseer is determined to track that overlord. Sorry, buddy. Not gonna happen. Fourth hatch happening at the same time. Overseers aplenty running around, hoping to catch any potential secret spire. Is probably one of the scarier things. Yeah. Obviously, if you see them trying to go towards Infestation Pit and Hive, but also just try and swell with roaches and kill them right then and there. Even seeing the... Oh, that's awkward. Actually, fully walled, didn't mean to. Even seeing that his double evolution chamber is something there. That's 150 resource... Wait. I haven't updated my vocabulary for the new upgrade resources cost. That was changed in the recent patch. Anyways, it's some amount of resources that could be put in that maybe Dark wouldn't be putting in, but they're both going for 2-1. I know the Spire upgrades got changed. And most of the upgrades tier 1 didn't get changed, so I think I'm safe. More expensive upgrades still. Anyways, they're both doing it. Both getting Tunneling Claws maybe as well. DRG did last game, didn't do anything with it. Ew, look at that. Like a tongue in the roach horn. Oh, it's a roach. Like a Hydra. I'm getting you closer. That really looks like a Hydralisk head, though, not a roach head. Yes. Yes, it is. Why is there a Hydralisk head in the roach horn? Can someone explain that to me? Whoop, I broke the zoom level. Hydras might still be considered, like, bosses in Zerg lore, I guess. They're superior to roaches. They're supposed to be, anyway. Alright, you know, this is like it's a perfectly even, kind of boring ZVZ. Let's just call a spade. And we get the most action is, like, 4 roaches microing into an overlord. It's so not interesting. This is very old school ZVZ, man. No one tried to all in. No one tried to change the composition. No one tried to be absurdly aggressive or absurdly greedy. Everyone's staying the course. Until Hive and Lurkers, apparently. Back in the day when Roach vs. Roach was so common and people hated this matchup because it really was quite boring. Back in Heart of the Swarm. Wings of Liberty, you would be adding on, not Ravagers, they didn't exist. They've actually added at least some interesting factors into a Roach vs. Roach battle. But you'd also be maybe seeing some Infestors pop out. Not anymore. So much. Hydra's hiding in the Roach horn because it's afraid to be drafted. It's actually pretty clever. He's a draft dodger. Get him! Like how every Zerg battle has one draft dodger. Spore Crow is coming down. That's going to help against potential Tunneling Claws. Now that both of them have it, it's kind of a concern. But it's also going to help against Vipers just kind of willy-nilly flying around. Overlords and Overseers as well. Like that. Just like if a Missile Sword's built against a Colossus, you're like, well, it shouldn't hit the Colossus. And then the Colossus is like, doo, 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 doo. Yeah, I actually really like the Spore Crawlers on the front. You know, usually they're put down when you also are building Lurkers. It kind of goes hand in hand, Lurker defense, SimCity defense. But putting it beforehand, you know, makes a lot of sense as well. I thought he saw that? Yeah, okay, he did. The Changeling still got the information, though. It still saw the army size and the army position, and DRG found an opportunity to get up on that high ground before Dark could respond. It's one of the better situations for him. But he is still working against Defender's advantage. Even a Spinecrawler helping out here. Upgrades are even. Ravager count, a little favorable there for DRG, but not so far getting too many shots. Just a little crowd control, really, is what's going on here. That wasn't all of either person's army. Dark actually went for a little bit of a run-by. Just kill the hatchery. And DRG's other portion of the army was just kind of in limbo, not anywhere particularly helpful. Once again, DRG Ravager is getting pounced upon, trying to make a pretty good army actually evacuate before killing that hatchery, but the hatchery will go down. Tit for tat on the hatchery count. Roaches, however, of Dark getting into some of the mineral lines as well. And even if they don't kill that many units, it's still just annoying to have to clean everything up. A lot of attention that is now directed outside of the main battles, outside of the mini-map. That can screw you up way more as the game goes on. Both bases that went down with 5th bases, so not the most important. Or no, I take that back, sorry. One was a 5th base, DRG's 5th base. One was a 3rd, but Dark has still 4 bases to the top right. Wait a minute. 5, 4. I can math. I can do this. Believe in me, guys. My general point is that those bases did not really cause a collapse of the Zerg economy on either side. DRG is a little lower on the income, though. They're just literally having less drones, even before I think 14 drones were killed. But actually, the Thundling Claws in every nook and cranny, plus the Overlord coming in, has given Dark quite the economic lead. DRG actually adding in Hydras. So, you know, Ravagers really replace Hydras. You know, you'd have mass Roach Infestor battles, then you'd have mass Roach Hydra battles, and the Hydras on the back line added a lot of DPS without being vulnerable. That's kind of what the Ravager does as well. But generally, it's like Hydras come out and they want to be lurkers. And then you start to see the ZVZ move away from Roaches into just literally mass Hydra Lurker Viper. And we're approaching that destination. And as it is, those Hydras do add a little bit extra to the back line. A little bit extra to the damage. 2-2 on both sides right now, but DRG in a much more awkward position, trying to escape out of the awkwardness, losing some of his more expensive units. Has enough of a consistent income that he can replace those types of gaffes, but does not have a big bank and actually is now really losing the economy war. Good lord, 14 drones less and not saturating the newer bases, perhaps? Kind of a double whammy, and Dark is getting way, way ahead on that bank. Bank can only cover so much. If you take a truly atrocious fight, it doesn't matter if you have a bank. But I don't think Dark's going to be taking a truly atrocious fight, and Lurkers give him a nice backbone, too. I mean, they should give both of them a backbone to an extent, but DRG on the offensive, unable to protect his Lurkers with Spore Crawlers, right? So Vipers just abduct a couple, easy peasy. 3-3 on the way for both players as well. I have yet to see DRG make a lot of Lurkers. He's got 1. He's not producing any more, whereas Dark is about to be up to 11 Lurkers. Also adding on more Vipers, and the Viper count does get comical the longer ZVZ goes. Not what I was expecting between the two Korean Zergs here. Both very capable of being aggressive, and that's kind of the outcome, the expected outcome of a ZVZ in Korea. So we get 2 macro games, really. Okay. I said ZVZ was a crapshoot, and I meant that more in the way of, like, there's a billion all-ins you have to account for, but I guess there's also that 1 in 50 chance it's just a super, super macro game. Nidus Storm coming in from Dark. I like that touch. He's also continuing to add on Spine Crawlers, which I feel like DRG might not have added as many. Yeah, not as many. Lurkers will help to cover defenses, but then it'll take away from the Lurker count on the front lines, so that's a bit of a balancing act. These Roaches are killed without doing too much, but that's okay. They were a very successful distraction. They bought some time, and these more Roaches are even buying more time. So while they're buying time and sacrificing themselves, trying to get at least something in return, their real goal is to die slowly so that Hydras can be remade back at home. Dark is doing exactly what you would expect a Zerg player to do heading into the late game. DRG, no doubt picking up on this, is going to try and move out here. He has still a mostly Roach army, but if he just has an army compared to a budding one from Dark, he can have a chance here. He can have a power spike. But Dark already starting to unleash those Hydras that he was remaxing with. And he's got that Lurker count as well. 4 Vipers to 4 Vipers. Lurkers with all their upgrades on either side. No, actually. Dark forgot his upgrades on them. Oh, that's a little weird. Might still take an okay battle. Blinding Cloud's going down every which way that we're looking. I'm not even sure who's actually fighting right now, but it seems like Dark holds on to the supply. DRG not remaxing nearly as fast as of yet. It is a messy, messy battle. One lurker here from Dark really helping out here, and it looks like Dark's Hydra count, well, it's not enough to kill the lurkers. It was enough to stand strong enough to save the base. I gotta go back, though. Like, I'm really thrown off because I cannot believe Dark forgot his upgrades. He has neither burrow speed nor the range on his lurkers. And I have to, like, quadruple check that because that just seems really weird. He was so focused on having a really streamlined, almost perfect transition. The roaches bought that perfect amount of time for the Hydras to be rebuilt with the bank that he had, that he seems like he forgot about the upgrades. And they're pretty important. They really make the lurkers much better. But whatever, man. He's going to make it work without those upgrades. Nidus roam in the main base. Secondary one coming up as well. Dark sees the opportunity to camp the main base and is not going to let it go. To the point that DRG just taps out. Well, yeah, the main base was pretty much a goner. The natural was also not going to be mining a lot, but, still a little surprised by that. I figured that he would have at least tried to all in with his army that he had. But, yeah, I guess just assuming that the Dark would have made more lurkers, and whether or not they had their upgrades, if there's 10 lurkers guarding this, you know, DRG's not breaking through that, so. Yeah, okay. But kind of an abrupt ending. All right, Dark, 2-0s, moves on to face Creator. So the winner's match is maybe a bit of a surprise. In the top right, it's Dark. The bottom left, it's not herO, it's Creator. Creator getting the benefit of the PvP.
Hostile forces detected.
herO kind of gave a game away. Thanks, Rashi, for the raid. Yeah, herO kind of gave a game away with a very risky strategy. One that I would 100% believe he practiced, he prepped, he thought was a very good idea, and probably just didn't execute correctly. And then the second game looked like herO was going to maybe win, or at least not lose in the way that he did. But Creator proved to be the better PvPer, and Dark proved to be the better ZVZer against DRG. Now they face off against each other. I already touched on it a bit during the ZVZ, but should Dark go up against Creator, I'm guessing he's pretty happy about that. Him and herO have a super long history. And again, that is almost 50-50, I want to say. So let's check out what Dark versus Creator looks like. Because I gotta imagine it's a better matchup for Dark. But I will make sure. Dark Creator. Before they may. Okay. Yeah. Oh my god, yes. Yes, he absolutely does prefer facing Creator. My goodness. Dark is 34-8 in matches against Creator. Ha! Okay. Yeah, to be fair, Creator's won a few more series most recently. But he has gone on 10+ series losses against Dark in the past. Wow, I'm glad I was right. I haven't totally lost touch in the Korean scene. Compared to Dark versus herO, which we're not having a can rush, are we? Okay, good. Compared to Dark versus herO, that is, actually herO favored more than I was expecting. herO's actually been dominating Dark the last couple of months. Damn. Okay, so this is actually beautiful for Dark. Dark was probably actually a little sweaty looking at the PvP, being like, come on, PvP, come on, PvP. Make it so that I'll have to face herO. And he got his wish. So, Dark, heavily favored. Coming into the winner's match. He's got his eye on the prize. Round of 4 GSL yet again. And Creator is the underdog here. He got his chance to get to the winner, so he has another chance in the decider should he lose here, but he would either be rematching against herO, which sounds pretty dangerous, or facing DRG, which I think actually would be Creator favored, but I wouldn't count DRG out. So that's the play here right now in this group. It really seems like Dark's gonna have a brilliant time, and then herO has a really solid chance at still making it out second. They favor him versus the Remainers in general, but obviously he did lose versus Creator. Would not be Maybe happy with a PvP decider. Should he get that far? Should he get that far? Casting Dark Creator now. herO versus DRG would be up next. So pretty typical PvZ on this map. So a little weird on the wall, of course. But I want to say typical because I saw a Nexus and a Gateway. But take it back. Warp Prism coming out first and foremost. Robo first seems to be making its way into the matchup in a way that it previously had not. There's been metas where actually it was a very popular choice. So it's not always been either Twilight Council or Stargate. But they've dominated the tech options for a long time. There was the Disruptor drop into Colossus push. That was popular for a little while, especially on particular maps. I could maybe see it on this map, just like the maps with the skinnier pathways. But it's not what Creator's doing. And it seems to be not what the other Protoss are doing when they go for this Robo first versus Zerg. They're getting a Warp Prism, and they're going for some harassment. Usually a bit more than just one Adept, though. Yeah. Twilight Council is finished. +1 is on the way on the Forge, and Creator is getting all of his setup done. Dark Ops on 3 bases, 40 drones, actually preparing for this X, Y, or Z, because he actually doesn't know what Creator is doing. He now sees the Warp Prism. Maybe this is actually kind of popular on this map, or Creator has done this before, because despite not having the full vision, unless I missed a link scouting the Warp Prism, which I might have, it was pretty well placed. Queens helping out with just the appropriate amount of lings here. The real fear, though, I would say, is that you don't know what the follow-up is. And so that's why this Overlord is still kind of suicide into the main, right? Seeing that there's no third base is a huge red flag, even though it was a bit of a weirder opener with the Robo as opposed to Twilight Council or Stargate. Like, lack of third base is still a red flag no matter what. And in this case, it is a Forge, which sometimes means macro. It's a Forge that's going to time out its +1 perfectly with this Immortal Charge all in. I was talking about DRG Genius earlier on in this cast, and I was not expecting to find myself casting a 2-base Immortal Charge all in again, but like I called it to us. Okay. All right. It's telegraphed, though. I mean, Dark 100% knows that this is a committed attack. Maybe he doesn't know for a fact that it's charged, but he should know. And, I don't believe he'll over-drone. It can still be tricky to actually defend 2-base all-ins, even if you know they're on the way. I mean, that was literally the Immortal Sentry all-in back in the day. You could literally tell your opponent that you were going to do it, and they could try and play the absolute best, and it would still be tricky to hold. And not just because ladder Zerg players are bad. Like, even DRG would have a tough time holding against Genius back in the day. Or Life would have a hard time holding against Parting. So, even though that was a arguably overpowered strategy, and it's not anymore, the point still stands. Like, this can still be kind of weird. You know, the Zerg player does have to worry about being under-droned as well as over-droned. So there's a balance for sure. Lings are still scouting around to see where the attack is incoming. A couple of more drones here for Dark, and that should be it. And I do believe that is just because he is afraid of being under-droned, losing out on the longer battle that really exhausts your resources. Banelings, Lings, Roaches, and Queens. A couple of Spore Crawlers as well on the front lines, prepared to defend against this. Lovely little Archon, but the Spores kind of negate that. They're going to reveal to the AI that it is a hallucination. So they're not going to bother attacking it. They might still soak up some Banelings, though. I like that he's even saving his Spore Crawlers. They are adding to a little bit of Sim City. That's not super great for Dark, though. I mean, Force Field's going to come down no matter what. The Spores are now dead. Warp Prism can come in a little bit farther and help to micro the Immortals. That is so many charge lots. They have been waiting very patiently. Creator trying to slice and dice this army so that the Banelings aren't going to be nearly as effective. So far, so good, but still plenty of Banelings left over. Immortals are out of their shield. Sentries are out of their energy, and here come the Banelings now. Last second split, pretty good. Creator showing his Terran side, and Dark desperately needs these reinforcements to pop out, especially before the Immortals get their Hardened Shield back. But it's not just the Immortals, man. Zealots are so easy to produce right now, and I think Creator has done it. Excellent use of the force fields here on this map. This was a particularly brutal area for Dark to try and consider. And an even army supply, we know how much better the Protoss army is pound for pound. chasing down the Roach Ravager. No time to make Banelings to help out against the Lings, and the Immortals are just walloping those Roaches, and Creator will go old school. 2-base Immortal Sentry all in with charge still. And it was difficult for Dark to hold, even though he scouted it was happening. Good job, Creator. With a successful 2-base all-in, bottom right it is Creator now up 1. Top left of Site Delta we have Dark, who tried to play the balancing act of the drone versus army. He also had multiple army units. The Banelings were supposed to be very helpful against the Zealots. And the Ravagers obviously were supposed to help against the force fields, but I will say that perhaps Dark maybe should have gotten more Ravagers just to make sure that all of the force fields could be broken as soon as possible. It's really hard to do that, though. Ravagers are not cheap. They take supply, so it's very easy to also like make a bunch of them and not realize you're getting supply blocked. And there was a lot of sentries. That was a lot of sentries with a lot of energy. So there certainly could have been maybe more broken force fields, but they also would have been replaced. But it's one of those things where it's like if they're replaced so much more, then they run out so much faster as well, right? So maybe that could have been a change-up. Also, perhaps, if it was possible, finding another avenue of defense, because Creator really abused that map setup. The fact that he was able to get to that choke and just stay there, and really nice army movements, keeping those Zealots all the way behind, letting the Immortals with their range fight over the force fields. It was really good. It was a really good slice and dice. But a lot of times, even though there are still some maps in the map pool in 2024 that allow for force fields to look overpowered, a lot of the times Zerg players have A, gotten better defending in general, B, have corrosive biles, and C, learn that that is a problematic area and do their best to avoid that area. But to be honest, I actually haven't seen that build, or certainly not executed as well as that. So perhaps Dark was not aware of just how brutal that position is. I'm sure he realized it once he saw the incoming attack, but only so much you can do. I'm gonna ask, 'cause I'm not at Home Story Cup. You know, it's kind of funny how many people think that I just go there. I've gone once every 4 years. So I don't know why people think I am. People are surprised that I'm not there. More typical opening thus far, because we have, well, 1, a forward gateway, and 2, a Stargate. So I am expecting 3 bases. Dark forced to take his 3rd. That's natural, but what else is new for Zerg players out there? Creator threw out one very, very good build. That was a great one to have in your back pocket for the inevitable PvZ, because either way, he wins or he loses his own PvP, he was facing a Zerg. That does mean that if he were to face DRG in the Decider, just throwing out a hypothetical, he probably wouldn't be able to do that quite the same way. I mean, just like maybe DRG just literally vetoes that map. But that's the Protoss thing to bear. It's the Protoss thing, right? You gotta have a lot of build orders if you want to try and get a surprise win, an easy win on your side. Not that you can't win playing a straight up 3 base, Stargate, 3 Oracle, dueling soccer game, but a little one and done. A little bit. Oracle number 1 is coming out now. No, that's Oracle number 2. Really got to check before I start talking. There's a lot of times nowadays where we just don't actually get onto StarCraft when we do the offline broadcasts, which I actually don't like. I always prefer to be in StarCraft. We have a little computer monitor off to the side, so you guys can't really see it. But for some reason, as of late, no one's bothered logging us into StarCraft so that we can join the lobbies, and when we have a question, just whoop, put up the unit production tab. And honestly, I'm going to tell you guys, Dallas observers seem to not be listening to us a lot of the time. Anyways, I'm just choosing right now to complain for no good reason, but it has been kind of a sore point where I've just been like 3 oracles, and the observer would pan over and it'd be 2 oracles, and I'd be like 2 oracles. God, if I could have checked, I would have done it. And now I've built up this habit of just not even bothering to look. It's bad. It's not a good habit. Anywho, Twilight Council and Forge are on the way. It's still overall very, very normal PvZ. Dark's Lair is coming up here. Roach Warren is being put down. No fast evolution chambers. And, oh, a little interesting. Actually adding on more than just 1 or 2 adepts, shading them across the map, and combining them with the oracles. Sometimes you can find a couple of queens. Sometimes you can find a lot of creep spread. And sometimes a Zerg player does try and tackle this with Lings, which is a terrible idea. Blink soccer game. I'm sure there must be a StarCraft 2 custom arcade game that is literally Blink soccer. It must happen. It must be there. And if it isn't, make it happen. Adepts continuing to threaten their shades, but really it is just about pressuring the front lines of the creep, I would say. Dark, just by having all of his queens together, kind of already negated, I think, a lot of the fear there. Overlord's going to try and come into the main base to get a good look as to what this is, because, for instance, if it saw Robo and a Robotics Bay, you're like, oh, Colossus, great. It actually did not see either one of those. It only saw gateways, the 3rd Nexus, without gas at that time, but now building the gases. Kind of scouted a little bit of it. It is Blink +1, we know that, and with the Stalker accounts accumulating, Dark is probably picking up on Stalkers, and if it is Stalkers, it is 3 bases, definitely be the Colossus push eventually. And the infestation pit's coming down right now, actually, so if you can streamline your Zerg process to get the drones, to get the hatcheries, to get the infestation pit, to get the hive for the Vipers, that is pretty helpful if they do end up getting Colossus against you. And I should have a 4th base coming down for Creator. Just that single Robo as well. It wasn't very fast, so it was not going to be the Colossus push. That's not something that Dark was able to 100% scout. Although I feel like he would need faster gases. I mean, to do the 3-base version, right? It's clearly 4 bases. He scouted it. It's now, it is going to be Robotics Bay coming down, but Dark is going into a late game. Creator, pretty much ditto. Stalker's actually getting on the front lines as well. As long as they have the help of the oracles, it's relatively safe. Even gonna cancel a hatchery? That would have been nice. Not gonna try and die for it, though. Not worth potentially losing the Stalkers. More Stalkers are on the way. Dark's trying to get up to his hive, as well as a good number of Hydras. And if he gets up to 15 Hydras, I don't think Creator can be as big of a bully as he would like. Aces Trap starting to come down for the inevitable retreat that happens with this little push out. And Nexus will finish back at home. Overseer does get back in. Scouts really well this time. I mean, it didn't actually scout the main, but it's all in the natural that there was 2 Robos and Robotics Base, so Colossus obviously is the plan. They are not for a very, I want to say, good push. I mean, Vipers would 100% be out. Lurkers are on the way. But that is something that Creator is going for as part of his composition. Perhaps Disruptors afterward. Very light on the aggression. He has managed to stall out the creep spread. We wouldn't necessarily call this really good. Oh, good job, Creator, on that one. But he hasn't really stopped the economy of Dark. It'd be more of a problem if Creator wasn't also pretty good on the economy. He's so far going toe-to-toe with Dark, despite the problems that he has against Dark in other tournaments. He seems to be doing pretty well here. Already up a game and looking to make this the complete 2-0 so you can just advance on, no sweat. Looks like the push is getting ready to go here. We got Chronos, no doubts, on the, there we go, upgrades. Maybe even Onyx and Thermal Lance eventually. Creator's 4 base. Colossus push is about to hit. Vipers have been made. They are currently soaking up juice. They are going to be ready for this. This base could be sacrificed in a worst-case scenario. However, Stalker is actually on the very front lines without their Colossus helping. Lings get a couple of wraparounds there. Fortunately, they were not any type of upgraded Lings, so the Stalkers were able to tango for a little while. But that was a decent start, you know, that bought a little bit more time. More lurkers are on the way. Viper's now in position. 2 Colossus instantly getting grabbed. They don't even really impact the battle. Nice save. Okay, 1 Colossus still impacting the battle, but that is hardly a lot of damage. There are so many units here now surrounding Creator's army, and this was just a disaster. This was not at all what Creator was hoping for. You know, the Colossus being taken out as easily as they were always sucks, but he also moved into kind of an open position. I mean, there's a little bit of a choke, but he couldn't actually use it all that well. Dark basically tried the blitz them before they're ready approach, and it worked. But I will say, attacking felt to be very late without High Templars to protect the Colossus. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. The Vipers will sack themselves to ensure an abduct on the Colossus, and it's almost worth it, always, I want to say. And if they don't, if they live, that's even better. Nidus Worm coming up here. That's a pretty cool touch. It is going to be taken down, but now it is Dark's time to shine. He has successfully defended the push of his opponents and now is going to be getting into all of the bases here. 4th base under attack. Good split away from the Disruptor. Nidus Worm still going to be threatening other bases, so keep an eye on that. Greater actually still has some army trying to go for kind of a little base trade almost, but reinforcements are too damn good. Probe's going down. Nexus going down. Nidus Worm now being used for reinforcements, and Creator did not get the appropriate amount of time to reinforce after his disaster of a fight. He is still down 40 army supply, 23 workers now, and his kind of desperate run-bys aren't doing enough. It is better than nothing. You know, if he had all of his army back at home, he probably doesn't hold either. So it is the best possible thing to do in the situation. But even the Colossus falling to a couple of queens, not ideal. Lurker's always going to be a problem as well. And Creator, he had a macro game, but it really felt like his push was just wet noodle. Didn't realize that Dark had actually gotten up to Vipers. I want to check his scouting, actually. He never got into the main again, but I think that's the first time we saw the Hive. I don't know. It just that was a bad one. That was not a convincing push. I'm sure I missed something. But Dark able to easily fight back in this series and taking a pretty normal ZVP. Now the final game of the winner's match. Bottom right's Creator, top left Dark. One player will advance to the round of 4. One player will fall to the decider match to face the winner of DRG versus herO. Creator gets a very, very good game 1. That was a very good build, and he executed the composition very, very well on that map. Second game was more of a normal PvZ, and I'll just say I missed something, because that was just such a bad push. That was not pretty. I probably missed something, but also okay. But also there was the whole distracted now. I lost my train of thought. What was I gonna say? Oh, there was the kind of rush that Dark did. I mean, you can play around a little bit with the army that Creator had, even if your Colossus do get abducted, I think, if you take a kind of slow approach to it. And Dark did just kind of, you know, say like, oh, you've repositioned, now I'm going to jump on top of you. And it's a bit of a gamble. Sometimes you see Zerg players jump on the Protoss army, and it's not a good idea. They don't account for reinforcements, they don't account for Warp Prism Micro, whatever. But yeah, that worked out really well for Dark. Creator also had his Warp Prism kind of late, so he probably meant to be able to juggle the Colossus a little bit more. There's a lot of things that could have been improved, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is how generally these two look against each other. Because Dark has a substantial lead in their win rate. I would not be surprised if in more normal, basic PvZs, Dark just looks way better. He has an 80% win record versus Creator in series. Individual games, it is a little bit better for Creator, but still, in matches, he can't quite close it out versus Dark. And it would not be shocking at all for Dark to be one of the first players to advance from Group B. Most people would certainly say either him or herO. Most people would probably have said that would have been the winner's match, but not. Another Adept Stargate opening here from Creator. No weird shenanigans. We're on Oceanborn, one of the tested tried and true macro maps of the 2 ladder map pools. This one and the last one. But I don't think Creator could do something particularly clever like the first game of this series here. It doesn't have to be clever, of course. You know, it could be Adept after Stargate or something. Could be the 3-base Colossus push, which I think would actually be a little scarier, but yeah. Adept just doing its proper job scouting. You go, Adept. Got one job and you do it well. This one almost did a terrible job and let the Ling through, but it's all Gucci. Overlord could see the Stargates, but is a little wary, apparently, of a Stalker. We have seen a little bit more a Void Ray opener as well. Obviously, if it was a Void Ray, this thing's dead either way, though. Spores should be coming down. I mean, the first Oracle's not that big of a deal, now seen by the Overlord. Queens take care of it. But actually see an opportunity. If the Oracle had tried, maybe could have gotten into this base before the Queens, because they're on the wrong side of the hatchery, basically. That alone means that the Oracle can grab 2 or 3 drones. I'm sure Dark would have paid attention to the Oracle movement and moved them if he needed to. 3rd Queen would have popped out as well, and well, now we have Spore Crawlers, so nothing to talk about, basically. Yes, if karaoke was not so DMCA-able and grating on everyone's ears, this would be a perfect time to do karaoke. I think Dark's doing the exact same build as last game. Twilight Council coming down for Creator. Twilight Council and Forge. Very typical follow-up to the Stargate. With the Forge, it also means there's not going to be a lot of pressure from the Blink Stalkers. Which could have come down a lot faster. They've already gotten that on the way. Oracle does find those Queens slightly out of position. Oh, she goes back for more when it really shouldn't have. Be satisfied with 3 drones there, buddy. And live for another attempted run-by or stasis traps or revelations, whatever works. Another couple of Adepts being made as well. So both players playing very similar, but not exact. Hold on here. Dark grabbing an Evolution Chamber, not a Roach Warren. Also kind of supply blocked right there. Need a lot of Overlords. Is he gonna... He doesn't have the same amount of Lings that helped out against the Adepts earlier either, but I just really don't think that Creator is truly looking to try and get in a mineral line. Only if this was the most obvious lack of defense ever when the Adepts shade in, I think. They do need to be helped by the Oracles. A little lost on the timing there. 2 Adepts do go down as they went too far away. +1 melee was the choice here from this Evolution Chamber tucked into the back, so feistier Lings. Creator going Blink once again. This can be very, very good. Last game, we saw them get a partial surround on the 2 forward Blink Stalkers. There's actually a lot of reasons why Creator's push was as lame looking as it was, besides the fact that Dark was pretty prepared for it. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I find flaws. But yeah, so imagine that same situation with the +1, and then I think a lot more Stalkers are in the orange and yellow health or straight up dead. +1 melee Lings against Stalkers when they can't blink away. Pretty good. Hydra Stand also is the choice here, so pure Ling Hydra, failing us to come perhaps afterward, is something that Creator has yet to scout, actually. So he hasn't seen a Roach Warren, he hasn't seen Roaches, but it could be anywhere, and Dark could be holding on to building army, as a Zerg should, to produce our drones first. We know what it actually is. We see the production tab. Creator, not so much. He's got his little move out here, partially protected by the Oracles, but only 2 on the front lines, and with an okay amount of energy. Hydra does reveal itself. I actually kind of wish it hadn't. The chance Creator gets a little too aggressive, blinks away, gets surrounded, and the Hydra jump on top of the Stalkers. So that would be a truly terrible time for the Protoss player. But the Adepts, I suppose, are going to scout it anyway, so... Ling Hydra, be very careful about how much you dedicate. You got to be ready to blink away, but blink away to a real safe place. Like up on this high ground, for instance, or back into the stasis trap. Creator has got at 4th base behind this. He is macroing behind this little bit of aggression. It is only a little bit. Stasis trap. Oh, barely doesn't pop. Fortunately, the link numbers are abysmal, so you don't even call that a interruption. The Stalkers just literally walked away. Disruptors are coming out now, not Colossus. Although I think against this composition, I actually would love Colossus. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, good. So Colossus and Disruptors, perfect. Get both. Beautiful. And the Stalker number continues to grow, continuing to control the creep spread. Dark, obviously not going for nearly as fast of a hive. He is going for a big Ling Hydra Baneling bust. Raider is the one with superior economy, 80 probes to 69 drones. Dark just powering up on his army. He does have 5 hatcheries, so in case he decides he has to transfer over, he could get more drones, and he could try and tech, but it's pretty committed. Colossus are already on the way. Disruptor is already out. Stasis traps are already planted. Feels like Creator is prepping appropriately. He knows what's going to happen here. I would feel a lot better if Colossus are actually out, though. Come on, buddies. 3 Colossus, a lot better than 1. Perfectly helpful against the Lings, but the Banelings actually are not lights, so that's when you want as many zappy zaps as possible. No Banelings as of yet, but here they come. Roly-poly-oly. I think the Observer might have seen it or something. I don't know. The Observer might actually want to, be in a different position. But either way, he is figuring there's going to be multiple avenues of attack. Creator splitting his army as well as possible with shield batteries aplenty. This looks... Yeah, this looks undefeatable. The Creator was perfectly set up. Well, it's the reverse of last game is what it is. Dark finally goes for his attack that has been prepped and telegraphed for a while. Creator's like, okay, bro, I'm pretty ready. Let's just go. Let's just freaking do it. And then as soon as the trigger is pulled, it's a disaster for the attacker. It was a disaster for Game 2 for Creator. Now it's a disaster for Game 3. Dark not finding any success. Usually you kill a Colossus. You kill a mineral's worth of probes. You kill the static defense at the very least. None of that happened. That was a pretty bad attack. Dark, you know, he didn't fully commit is the good news. He wasn't so foolish as to think if only I dedicate more, this will work. So he saves a lot of the army so he doesn't have to remax on it just for safety's sake. He can also get some of the technology that he desperately needs. Ooh, ouchies. +2 melee when they get us around on Stalkers, guys, I tell you. I tell you what. And Stalkers go down mostly because of that. But of course, while that's good news, he's still almost maxed and he is adding on technology. It's not here yet, and he really needs it. The army of Creator is rather good. It is still vulnerable to a complete surround. If we see a fully maxed out Ling Baneling Hydra army get a perfect surround on this, of course, Creator could still lose, but if he doesn't, if he uses the chokes and he uses a couple of force fields and whatever, then it should be a very good attack from Creator. Dark trying to get a best setup possible. One to get that surround that I'm alluding to. Disruptor is going to get a good shot, but here comes the rest of the army. Baneling's crashing into the middle. More Banelings coming up from the left side as well. Colossus is actually very vulnerable. No Warp Prism to save them, and the Banelings just crash through everything. Colossus going down. Archon's going down. Both players losing a substantial amount of supply, but it is Creator who is entirely washed. The Warp Prism coming in too late to help, and that was the second Warp Prism. What the freak? That is very unfortunate. The Warp Prism would have been instrumental in that fight. He could have saved easily 2 Colossus, 2 Archons, 2 Immortals, a handful more Stalkers. Like, the Warp Prism pickup would have been amazing. Because as far as StarCraft 2 battles go, that was actually not one of the faster ones. It took a little while, right? You could have absolutely picked up and dropped, and you would have at least made it so that it wasn't just a wash for you. You would have made it that Dark also had no army on the field and was desperately reinforcing. And if the Warp Prism had been involved, microing and available on the front lines for a warp in, Dark reinforces into quicker reinforced zealots. And that would have been a tremendous difference. Instead, Creator does lose literally all of his momentum, all of his position on the front lines, giving Dark that crucial amount of time to just breathe here. Collect his army, make sure the follow-up doesn't do anything. Those zealots did not find a lot of damage. Get to his lurkers. He can't counterattack. He didn't win the fight that well. But he still is able to survive, which for him was his first A very necessary thing to do. He was in some trouble and he had to survive. And he does. Now going for a little bit of a Ling run by, getting a couple of structures, some warp-ins. These are +2 melee. They are working on the adrenal glands as I speak. +2 missile, prioritized over any type of +3, which I think is fair. Lurkers are now one of Dark's primary unit. Warp Prism just flying around, being obnoxious. In the ZVZ, Dark did forget his upgrades for the Lurkers. This time around, he has the Digging Claws? Drilling Claw? Digging Claw? Yeah, whatever it is. He has the Burrow Speed. I've actually always forgotten that one, because it is close to Drilling Claws, isn't it? When they changed it, I think, when it was first released as well. Those are my excuses. He's got the Burrow Speed. He doesn't have the range, and a lot of people would argue the range is better. There's, I think, some debate, but range is pretty good. Warp Prism really trying its best. Again, 2 Warp Prisms, sorry. Both Warp Prisms trying their best. At this point, they are mostly mosquitoes. They're just annoying. Keeping tabs on the opponent a little bit as well. Creator was able to remax, clearly. Again, that was such a... Both players were in such an abysmal state on the army after that fight that because of that, there was no counterattack. There was no follow-up. Both players were like, okay, calm down. All right, calm down, dude. It was just a prank. And both players had plenty of economy to recuperate. And actually, I'm going to take a look at the economy once this is done. I bet there's not get anything done. Yeah, Creator has been winning most of it because remember, he had like 15 more workers for a lot of this game. Dark had cut workers for a long time to do that attack, and then obviously couldn't really get a whole lot after. I think he did manage to fit it in, though, which is why he's able to get to this point. And Dark is pretty good at making comebacks happen. Maru probably still the best, the absolute best, but Dark's up there in my opinion. A little more on the ZVT when I imagine when he comes back, but I'm sure he doesn't ZVP, and that fight was part of the comeback. Creator, still with such a heavy economy lead, was able to remax and tech transition, which I think is very important. Both players getting their tech transition that they would have wanted, but if the Protoss gets there, it's not exactly rock, paper, scissors, but it is kind of one of those, like, Lurkers are very scary against gateway armies. A little less so as the carrier count starts to grow, because they can't shoot up. Logic. But that is a lot of Lurkers. Oh my god. He has 28 Lurkers? What? That's too many. That is not okay. What? What do you even do against that? I would say pump out as many disruptors alongside these carriers as possible. No other composition will do the trick. The best possible Zealot, Archon, Immortal, or Surround would still not win there. That is insane. And to be honest, Dark almost looks like he's thinking I have 28 Lurkers that can never lose, and he's now forcing it down Creator's throat, which has lost him, what was it, 8? But that's still a lot. That's still a lot right there, and Anitis Worm can come back up for the retreat should he need it. There's a little bit of a scuffle off to the left side that killed even more probes, I believe, but really paying attention to these Lurkers because they're being actually concaved upon before that Anitis Worm is done. Even the DT trying to help out there, and now what the Lurker count is. Let's see. 7. Way better. Way better for Creator. That is no longer a terrifying force of Lurkers. That is a... okay. Not even that great. And all that time, they did not have the range, which really impacted that fight, actually. Because Protoss was able to just stay in their natural and not be attacked, they were able to accumulate forces and still have that concave. The extra range might have made it so a lot of the army could not have stayed in the natural. Dark. He has said before that he doesn't really like late games. He just inevitably finds himself in them. And he wins them as well. My words, not his. But he definitely talked about not liking the late game. But he still gets there so often that I find it incredibly unlikely. He's just unfamiliar, that he's forgotten how to play the late game. But twice a day, he forgets important Lurker upgrades. And that might just kill him. Didn't kill him in the ZVZ, but it might kill him here. Creator actually handled the 28 Lurkers rather well, all things considered. Carrier will get taken down, it's a little unfortunate. Nexus obviously was killed, but he's got other Nexus elsewhere. He's still the one with the bigger bank as they both max out yet again. 3-2 on the side of the Gateway Army, by the way, for Creator versus 3-2-1 from the Zerg. Melee not really helping out so much in these battles. Protoss Army now just insurmountable. The Lurker stood no chance, and Dark is desperate for something. I don't know what he's got, though. That is a pretty perfect Protoss Army. Creator might be the one to make it out first in this Group B of the round of 8. That would be one of his best performances in a while. Not only that, but defeating Dark when it matters most. After the last year being substantially in Dark's favor. Almost let it go. Almost. But this round is not going to be nearly as impressive as the last one. It's like a wet noodle. That's going to be it, guys. Dark finally taps out, and Creator 2-1 advances to the round of 4 of GSL. We're now in the elimination match. Top right of Alcyone, it is DRG. The bottom left, we do have herO. So herO, a little surprising loss versus Creator, but PvP and Creator's pretty good at that matchup. Now faces, I think, the weaker Zerg in the group. DRG, best possible plan of advancing probably would have been winning the ZVZ. Probably losing to herO in the finals, the winners match, sorry. And then getting a rematch versus Dark, maybe? Or at least Creator in the decider. That probably would have been the best plan possible, thinking about how things could go as you get to the GSL studio. Hasn't worked out that way. Things have really gone awry there. DRG now is on his last life facing herO, who not only is herO, and we know what that means, is a very, very good player, but also when you look at the head-to-head between these two, yeah, herO is very much in a better position. He is 31-11 in matches against DRG. herO came into StarCraft 2 kind of after DRG was already starting to lose some of his championship caliber, I suppose. He peaked with that GSL and some MLGs and stuff, but eventually fell off. Didn't do as well in like Red Bull events as you would expect in some type of other tournaments I'm sure I've forgotten. Anywho, since then, herO has won most of the time, the majority of the time. And unlike Creator versus Dark, that has not changed so much in the last couple of months. You know, Creator went on a 10-loss streak versus Dark, but then started to trade series towards the last few months of 2024. DRG just continually loses versus herO. So, again, I do believe that here we have a very clear underdog. DRG isn't supposed to win right now. And which means that herO might be able to get a rematch versus Creator. And wait, no. Ha! I just assumed Dark won. Which means that herO gets the match that he probably also is not really looking forward to, which is Dark. I think Dark and herO would have really loved to have not faced each other at all in this group because they are pretty combative. I know that I just looked up that herO actually wins more often, but still Dark's a very scary player when it comes to tournament results, right? So, yeah. But now that herO, you know, maybe gets the win here, maybe does defeat DRG, he gets that kind of confidence boost in the matchup and then has to face Dark, not unfamiliar with that, might have a really solid chance of having two Protoss advance out. Be pretty cool, and not what people expected. But definitely not discounting Dark. I am discounting DRG a little, I gotta be honest. If you were prepared to call me out on that, I'm just gonna call myself out. I'm not a huge believer. Prove me wrong. herO going for a Phoenix opener, changing things up a little bit from the usual opening of this matchup. Phoenix, you know, it kills Overlords, doesn't do very much else, but it does then hide what is happening behind it, so that's really scary. And you can deal with a Phoenix or a Void Ray. Void Ray helps a little bit more in terms of overall engagements. Phoenix, well, just kills Overlords. Actually doesn't find the one that's actually scouting him, which is funny. Usually over there, and I'm pretty sure he saw it was over there. This is, again, an ugly wall. You're absolutely correct. This is so funny. I thought that herO had fixed his walls in this ladder map pool at some point. You know, I was making fun of him for not fixing it deep into Waterfall. Was that what that map was called? And you know, I was like, oh, but hopefully he's fixed it by now. And it didn't look bad at Dallas, if I recall correctly. I remember making that reference and then being like, this is fine. But it's like today, his GSL group, he's like, I forget. I'll do wall? Question mark? No. He was also doing a lot of pylon walls, but that was very intentional. Like, you know, it looked uglier in my opinion as well, but it was an intentional thing. These are just actually like, oops, a daisies. There was another opening. Oh, I didn't do 2 pylons. Ah. Anyways. herO, what are you doing here? Phoenix kills the overlords, now paired up with the oracles. That's the other benefit of the Phoenix, actually. The Void Ray still helps straight up in battles, but the Phoenix can lift a queen, which honestly, you know, if you don't go for the overlords and you tuck it away, it can actually be a legit surprise to the Zerg. You know, they have their 2 queens rather safe against the oracles spreading creep. Suddenly a Phoenix takes one of them out of the equation. You lose 2 queens there. Not happening. You know what I always like to do? I always like to put all of my production in a circle around 2 pylons within Baneling splash range of each other on my wall. That's what I like to do in this matchup as well. Fortunately, DRG is not Baneling busting him. Does not even have a Baneling nest, so we're okay. It's just, you know, it's good stuff. A lot of adepts, guys. A lot of adepts are coming through here, and I think DRG saw a little bit of it, but maybe not the full extent of it. Even if he did, there's only so many options. This Roachborn's actually not done right now. He has the supply. He has the resources. Roaches will no doubt be popping, well, baking. Not popping, but they should be making. Hello? Oh, he doesn't have a lot of larvae. Ooh, okay, well, that might be a disaster. Adepts able to stay together for the most part, so Lings aren't going to get the best surround here. It is at least a decent amount of Lings with the queens helping, so the Adepts, you know, it's still not the ideal situation for them. They do like to be in the mineral line killing the drones. I'd say already being able to kill that many Lings, being able to escape with the Adepts, being able to scare the Zerg player, it's already okay. Also, Stasis Trap in the main. 1 in the natural, too. Good response from DRG, though. Considering that he didn't have everything ready to go, he not only defended the Adepts, but he also stopped his drones from being all stasised, so not bad. Okay, herO made another batch of Adepts. All right, then. All right, okay. At this point, you definitely don't want to take a direct battle. But obviously splitting them into every single nook and cranny could work out. A continued combination of Oracle Adept harassment this time actually does work. The Oracle's doing a great job denying the mining and the man and the natural. The Adepts actually get through, which maybe wouldn't be so problematic, but the Roaches were very late to respond. The Lings go in head first and die first. And now they aren't here to help a little the body blocking, you know? The Roaches just never going to catch up. Adrenal glands, or Roach speed. Almost done. The Depths are already out of here. Yeah, maybe you don't want to actually tango with the Roaches that were left in the natural. Recalls out. Good decision. Overall, lost mounting time. 10 drones killed. More coming down, actually. Oracle sees the opportunity. More lost mounting time. More just scatterbrained Zerg problems happening here. Because herO kind of gets the benefit of being the aggressor, that you choose when to attack and when to not attack. The Zerg defender doesn't know your plans. They can't get into your brain. So you can choose not to attack at that particular moment, to go back and macro, and then look back on your base. Look back on your Adepts. The Zerg, if they're trying to deal with literally 3 forms of harassment, you know, initially he did well. And then eventually it didn't go well. So DRG, all over the place, finally getting an opportunity to really settle down here, get his drones back to mining, get the appropriate number of workers, get the army up and running. But herO has been doing that the entire time. He's gotten his 4th base up, gold base actually as well. He's built up the stalkers, he's built up his upgrades, he's built up his economy, 75 probes to 68 drones. So even though maybe you look at the direct amount of damage, oh no, it's pretty good actually. It's twice the resources lost. Still, maybe you think that DRG has a chance. Look at this. Does he? Does he, though? Does he? Absolutely not. Hydra's also popping out without attacking, without the roaches protecting them. It's all ugly, and herO will win game number 1. Pretty assuredly as well. Has anyone ever called roach speed glial? Glial? Nope, because we don't know how to say it. I think it's glial reconstitution? Is that... Do you copy paste that? Is it restitution? Restitution. I feel strongly you have not copy pasted that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I knew the second word. Give me points for that one. Game number 2. Very, very convincing game from this man on the top left, herO. The bottom right just kind of floundered a little bit. It is DRG. And it's certainly one of those Protoss builds that gets worse as it gets worse. Like, it really snowballs. Because you not only have the potential of the Adepts to trade out... There's so many things that go with it, right? There's Adepts trading out versus Lings, and then the Lings die, you have to replace the Lings. It's not drones. That's a lack of larva as well that potentially hits him, which did actually hit him. He did not have as much larva as he needed. Then there is also just the base balancing act that is playing Zerg, which is from the get-go making sure that you balance the potential of an attack with the potential macro game. You don't want to fall behind in the macro game either. And then with the oracles included as well, there's a really solid chance that you mess up once and you still take damage there, which then makes you prioritize that, which makes you miss the other thing, and then you prioritize that, and then you miss the other thing. Like, sometimes that can really look bad on the Protoss' side because nothing goes well. Everything the Adepts do suck. They get body blocked by an evolution chamber in the natural and go, and then it's just stupid. But if one thing goes wrong, it's really easy to feel like everything else goes wrong when it comes to Adepts, whether it's 2 base, 3 base, first or post Stargate, whatever it is. And I feel like DRG just had a prime example of that, where it's just the first thing that went wrong was that his roach run wasn't done, his roaches weren't out. He kind of salvaged the situation a little bit with good enough Ling numbers and queens, but again, even then, it affected his larva, it affected his drone count. He didn't have those Lings later on to get a little bit of body blocking and surround on the Adepts. It snowballs. And the other thing that can go wrong for the Protoss is that they are so busy trying to make those Adepts snowball that they do not have a follow-up plan, that they do macro poorly or something along those lines. And I didn't see any sign of that from herO. So, herO made DRG play a really subpar game. It was a forced error, but they were a lot of errors. Stargate's coming out for herO once more. We'll see if he opts for a Phoenix opener again. Selected 2 Overlords, blocked out the scouting from DRG. Did what it wanted to do. Marines have drugs now. Oh no, the meth lab was denied. I mean, you have to wonder what goes on in that tech lab when it is producing impact. Combat shields, I mean, I guess they're just literally making shields, but what are they doing when they make Stimpack? They got some white dude with his underwear, no pants, doing a meth lab. Yep, exactly. Very typical opener, actually, now that that's not a Phoenix first. It's an Oracle first, so the still bread and butter of PvZ. For the Zerg player, it'd be nice to try and get a gotcha. You adepted me, I'm gonna do an equivalent, but there's no equivalent, frankly. So, DRG, suck it up. Do better macro next time. Sorry, I'm comically making fun of the guy. I'm not serious, but he is the one who's losing, so I still feel bad. Oh, Void Ray actually after Oracle, so a little bit of a mix-up once again. Wants to deny that vision and make DRG, at the very least, the most uncomfortable Zerg possible. There's a lot to be done when a Zerg player knows what's happening, whether that is an all-in or a macro game. That very strong decision to hold down the drone button versus the army button. Any amount of seconds of well, hold on here. Especially at the top level. Can ruin the Zerg stream of advancing. And this Void Ray is going to ensure that DRG is constantly going, +1 melee is the choice here for DRG. Is the option he opted into. But it is, once again, kind of like hidden in the back. Very common for that. It's going to be another Adept build. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This time he changes it a little bit by going for a Void Ray instead of a Phoenix. Maybe hoping that throws off DRG. At the end of the day, again, it just denies that vision. DRG... You should be very wary. Unfortunately, again, the lack of vision, so doesn't even see the lack of fourth gas. Hasn't seen the third Nexus, I think, either, but that could happen. Oh, a link did go by. The third Nexus should always be scouted, but the gases would be more of a tell, and the Overlord's nowhere close. And no one really goes Overlord speed immediately anymore. Baneliness is on the way as well, and the Banelings, in combination with Lings, is actually a beautiful combination against Adepts. The issue is that it's kind of a 50-50 on either side. You know, I mean, the Banelings can connect with a huge group of Adepts, and that is perfect for the Zerg, but they can also overmake Banelings, and they not have enough Lings so that if the Adepts spread, the Banelings aren't the just end-all, be-all of the engagement, then there's not enough Lings to actually kill the remaining Adepts that are in the orange, but are still alive. So that's why it's kind of like it could be perfect, or it could be disastrous. For both sides. Right now, the Banelings are not prepared. Void Ray is going to sack itself to distract Queens. I don't know if that's exactly what it wanted to do. There's a last-second split there from the Banelings, and the Lings have, well, two jobs. They have to chase the Shades, and they have to try and look for the surrounds on the split Adepts. Even with +1 actually done, which it finally is, the Lings probably don't want to try and surround this whole big ball of them. As it is, herO is kind of acknowledged by looks of things that DRG has an appropriate response. He does have some more Adepts coming along here, but is moving on to better things, gateways, and a Blink upgrade on the way. He's at 4 gases in total, guys. So he is going for a fairly dedicated attack. A good follow-up, we'll say that much. And while Lings with +1 are actually still a good thing to have against a Blink Stalker person, the issue a lot of the times, especially as your bases get canceled and maybe your macro hatch rate is forgotten for a little while, whatever it is, the issue is having enough Lings. Literally not enough to conquer the superior units of the Protoss, or not enough because you don't have Larva. DRG, fortunately, is getting a macro hatchery, and he is trying to get another 4th base up and running, but I wouldn't be surprised if he still has larva problems. Seeing it right now. I'm going to keep a very close eye on that. Because if DRG could somehow get to 150 Lings, let's throw that out there. Well, okay, he's fine. But I'm not sure that he can. And it's not just because of his money, which he is currently banking 800 of. herO starts things off with a little razzle-dazzle in the main base. A little, oh, I'm not doing anything serious. Just let me get the Adepts. Yeah. Actually has to sack them because the Warp Prism got injured. But this is all more so of a distraction. He's got an army building back at home. It is accumulating in size. DRG and even worker counts. Now trying to get a couple of more as he's not certain what's on the way. He has actually not gotten to the other side of the map in some time. And, he's trying to, kind of guess to an extent. So he's got all these upgrades, and Infestation Pit even, and all the drones he just made, hogging the larva, hogging the minerals and gas, and he does not have enough of an army. Nice blink back, and the Banelings don't even pop on the Adepts, given the opportunity. The Adepts will go ahead and shade, it looks like. Yep, they will. Looks like the Stalkers are doing well enough anyway. Immortal actually too far away from the Warp Prism. That is a mistake, but it doesn't look to be a game-ending one. herO having so many units in every location. The Adepts now on the natural as well, denying further mining. Larva still being a bit of an issue. Finally, some injects pop, but where are the Lings? Spam the Lings, my dude. Something's better than nothing. He doesn't have enough gas to continue building roaches, and he's just not building anything else. Even Queens are better than nothing, but it is clearly too far gone. herO dominates this particular PVZ and will be facing Dark in the decider match. Decider match is here. In the top right of Alcyone, it is herO. And on the bottom left, it is Dark. These two have so many matches under their belt. I feel like, especially in, let's say, a 4-year period, to be super safe, they have to be the most played matchup between two players. Who else faces each other that often? Clem Max Packs. Okay, I immediately beat myself. But let's say second, then. Okay, there's Clem Max Packs that has an absurd number of games played between each other in the last 4 years. There's, on the Korean side, Dark versus herO. Because, like, most of their career can be really focused on the past 5 years, I guess. Well, let's just say both of them playing, not being in military or anything like that, last 3 or 4 years. And it has, as of late, been very herO-sided. I do believe at one point it was very back and forth, but at some point herO just started to accumulate more wins. And so currently, as it stands, herO has the 79-44 advantage in matches against Dark. So he is the favorite to win here. But Dark, I would say, is also a really good tournament player. So, you know, we know that, like, Raynor was a really great example, especially back when he was in some of the finals of the World Championships. He's a great player that you could point to be, you know, well, he really soaks up the energy of the crowd. Maybe not as much anymore, but that was one thing we always talked about with him. I feel like Dark is very similar. He's chiller about it, you know. Raynor is a showman, getting up on stage, telling everyone to, like, you know, clap for him and stuff like that. Dark is just, he just exudes power when he walks on the stage, and people like him for it. So anyways, even though this is GSL and the crowd isn't that large, it's in the studio, nonetheless, I feel like Dark can really turn it on when he needs to, which are in these more prestigious tournaments, which very often have crowds. That's why they're a little more prestigious. So you gotta be scared about that as herO here. Now, herO did totally fine versus this previous Zerg opponent, so he has a little bit of a confidence boost, but you're not really going to compare DRG and Dark for a lot of different reasons. Playstyle, accolades, as well as the actual history between the two. herO and Dark just have so much history. But nonetheless, herO is favored, and we'll see if he can continue being favored here in the GSL round of 8. Make it so that there's 2 whole Prodosses in the round of 4. That's insane. That instantly makes up for all Protoss balance complaints. Just throwing it out there. I know a lot of people watching right now are giggling because they know the results, but yeah, no spoilers. No spoilies. Let me believe that there's 2 Protoss in the round of 4. Dark is not going to get the scouts. I think eventually he would. Yeah, not going to bother going for it. He did just have the advantage of watching herO face DRG. So that actually really should be accounted for. And since herO was showing off a lot of Void Ray and Phoenix openers, and by that I mean 2 games, 2 openers, you probably want to avoid losing your Overlord as fast as possible. So moving it off to the side for the chance to get a scout puts him in a superior position to DRG. What doesn't put him in a superior position is losing 6 drones. Whoops-a-daisy. Oracle sees the opportunity to slide on by. Spore Crawler wasn't done, and Queens are slightly out of position. But he's got that Overlord going for him. Which is actually pretty important. If herO were to think, like, hey, I can do the same thing over and over and over again, let's go with Depths again, and Dark actually sees that, I mean, it really is a big difference. And the Void Ray thus far is not scouting to the right side. So this seems like a good plan from Dark. Most likely based a lot off the most recent CVP from herO. Because these two play so often, I gotta imagine herO's basically flipped a switch every 5 series. 5 series against Dark, he goes Void Ray opener. 5 series against Dark, he doesn't. Whatever. Void Ray eventually does try and look for that Overlord, but the Overlord's actually already getting in here. It's going to see a Twilight Council and a Forge. That's pretty bare bones, basic PvZ shit. Would have loved to have seen I mean, as much as possible. And that was basically it. The only thing that was missing, I suppose, was the gases in the natural, whether or not all 4 were taken. Which would have been nice to see, but what are you going to do as a Zerg player? Have 2 overlords die on the other side of the map? No thank you, sir. Little adept pressure. I mean, you know, in the same way that Dark was able to see herO just demolish DRG, herO was also watching Dark get beat by Creator. And you might have seen opportunities to even improve on what Creator was doing in the macro games. So, for instance, I actually wouldn't be surprised if herO did dive a little harder with the Oracle than Creator did, because herO was able to see Dark had his queen slightly out of position. We just got a canceled hatchery, too. That did cost an Oracle. Hard to say that was worth it, but canceled hatchery at least. And 3 more drones do go down as well. Gonna be going into Blink. herO, still one of the guys who always goes to those gateways. Love him for it as well. My favorite way to watch this matchup. And he still has 2 Oracles. Right, Oracle and Void Ray. Right. This Void Ray can continue scouting a little bit at least, but doesn't actually want to run into the queens. Like it did last game. +1 melee for Dark. Little hidden once more. herO not getting a full scout on that as of yet. 4th base is coming up for herO as well. With Blink almost on alongside +1, wouldn't be surprised to see him start to move out with the Oracle Stalker combination, especially because he's grabbing another Oracle too. He really wants to have a certain number of Oracles to support any type of push out. And just in general support. I mean, it's a piece of change to grab another Oracle all willy-nilly, but I would certainly feel safer with 2 Oracles. Little stack defense already set up as well, so these Lings not getting a chance to do anything, but they have broken down the rocks for later opportunities. Roachborn coming down for Dark as well. Actually, bad at spending his money right now. What is going on with the injects? Low? Why you have so much money? Wait. Well, he has a lot of money. He apparently doesn't need it. Lings almost get us around, but thank God for Blink. Oracle's now here as well, and Dark needs to consider that. However, Stasis Trap's not really all that effective. Just took up most of the energy of these guys, and I would be wary of overstaying my welcome with these Stalkers without the Oracles there to help. herO thinks better of attacking down that angle, chooses a much safer angle off to the right side, even though Dark has mined out this, so he's not ever trapped outside of the right side of the map. Still has a little more time for him to get over there. He wasn't going to chase those Stalkers anyway. He's going to go for an attack down the middle, get on top of the Robo, get on top of the Natural, perhaps. Very quick warp-ins, though, going to save the Natural. Robo cannot say the same thing there. That does get deleted. At least that still allowed a robotic spade to be made, so you obviously still have to start up the Robos again, but you can start extended thermal lance if that's what you wanted to do. I'm actually not certain that is what he wanted to do. It was 1 Robo. A second one was never put down. It's usually 2, or Colossus or Disruptors. He might actually just be like, okay, whatever, man, I don't care. Yeah, that's exactly what he did. He canceled the robotics bay. Whatever. I don't want to go Colossus anyway. Fleet Beacon probably is the better idea at this point. Void Ray going to scout the Lings. Observer might be placed there as well, just because it's clearly an opening. Zealots, dumbasses, running into this around. Thank you. And Dark just has a lot of the map taken over. Oof. Kind of getting a little scared. Not because of anything really in particular, but I'm kind of scared for herO, because it kind of feels like Dark is getting into his rhythm. And I'm scared when that happens, so... Now, herO, I mean, he is not really going for something that is rhythm-based, if you will. He's not going for his, sometimes the style we know him for, that mass Stalker gateway count. Zealots over the left, Stalkers over to the right, Warp Prism in the main base. He's not going for that, so it's never going to look quite as cool for him. He is going for a very solid defensive Stargate macro cycle here, but... that does mean that Dark now has creep sprayed out the yazoo. He's going to be able to get bases. He also should be realizing that is the herO plan here and maybe getting ready for his own transition over into the late game. Yada, yada, yada. It's a typical setup for PvZ. No one's actually ahead, I feel like, but it's getting scary when Dark gets control over the map. Oh, that is a kill, not a cancel. Okay. All right. +2 melee lings. Hell of a drug. 5th base will be replaced relatively soon. Both parties almost maxed out, and certainly you need a 5th base here. Zealot's going to try and get some revenge. Not going to be able to kill a hatchery, though. It's true. If Zealots weren't dumbasses, they'd be too powerful. If the AI could tell when they should or should not charge, that would be way more powerful. Looks like there was a Baneling bust. They busted through that weakened Simon X core from earlier on. Also, I believe, denying the +2 ship weapons. Oh, that was +1 ship weapons. I'm sorry. So yeah, they denied any amounts of ship weapons, so the carriers are much worse. And that actually is really important, too. I mean, Interceptors versus Ultras is always kind of comedy in action there, but +1? Well, there's no Carapace upgrades either. All right, well. The point still stands. These Ultras will not die to the Interceptors. There's got to be something bigger and better to chunk those bad boys down now that chitinous plating is going to finish. So even though these things do not shoot up, and that seems like a major weakness of Dark's playstyle, we've had this playstyle around for a very long time in multiple matchups and multiple forms. The air game versus the ground game. Ground doesn't shoot up. Air is supposed to win, question mark? Just keep on sending units at them. Just shove the units down their throat. Actually, that was my favorite meta for ZBZ, honestly. Mutas against 1/1 Lings. But regardless, we got ourselves Lings in every nook and cranny, and that is just annoying. They are getting some decent probe kills as well, and herO never replaced that 5th base. That is a lot of lost time. That should be building and hopefully not being killed, but it would have been killed, to be fair. But it should have been building while everything else was going on. And it wasn't, so herO's stuck on 4 bases, losing probes, we're forced to replace them. He will still be able to max out in a very powerful Protoss army. A little less so because the carriers are on +1. But then it's like, you also actually, literally, you open up that possibility for a base race. It is, again, kind of funny to see carriers not being shot back at lose a game. But that is 100% possible. 100%. With Ultras and Lings and Cracklings. Dark is already doing it. The fear right now is literally the Protoss fuck it push. And it is going to happen. I think this Nexus dying probably is going to cause it. Just that there's really no other plans here. Like, the two choices here are either to just accept your punches and rebuild very slowly, or try and use the army that you have built, which they're not killing. Dark isn't really trading army for army right now. He's trading army for economy and structures. And hope that this one big push, this one-punch man push, actually wins the game. Which means that Dark has 2 options himself. Either to await that big push and hopefully get the best around and get queens and the interceptors, I guess, I don't know. Or to base race. I do say that Dark not adding on a Spire maybe is a more dangerous way to play this, because it would be nice if he could just, you know, build Corruptors in case the carriers do some significant damage. But whatever, man. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to go into air units. More Langs! herO trying to actually split his army a little bit so that the base race doesn't officially happen. He does not want to open up that opportunity for the Zerg player. It's just, it's pretty impossible, honestly. Another base gets taken down. Technology now getting taken down as herO, I guess, was still kind of splitting the possibilities, and now is really just full-on F-it mode. It's just like everything across the map. Go, go, go. And that means that Dark can win the base race. Something that he has done, actually, even recently in Katowice. And I think the base race might be the best option, because he literally doesn't have it. Oh. He doesn't have any Corruptors, but he has 14 Queens. Oh my god, a Microbial Shroud! Dark actually uses the Infestors and all of their abilities. Isn't that insane? And he fungals the Interceptors, too. I feel like, honestly, Dark is the best Infestor user. I know Cyril probably is, actually, but I really like that Dark gives them the credit that they deserve. So many other Zerg players, I think, would not have thought about that. Legitimately. I know it's actually kind of obvious in this situation, but I legitimately believe a lot of Zerg players would have derped and panicked. But this is a perfect response. The Interceptors, they're so bad, too, because this is 0-0 Interceptors versus Queens. that are actually sturdy in general. Transfuses, Microbial Shroud, Spore Crawlers helping out, and any Carapace upgrade to help too. And the base race is about to complete, by the way. Okay, Mothership Cloak is going to save the day, but now it's a temporary spell. It doesn't stay on the Mothership, so that actually does not save the day for all 24 hours. Despite 14 Queens, Microbial Shroud, and a decent amount of Transfuses, the carriers have maybe pushed through. No, not even, actually. GG. herO knows that without the carriers, he can't win, and even with the carriers, he was going to lose all of his structures, so... Yep, Dark did the full-on ground combat style. The fun style, but it feels very frustrating as the Protoss. So, game number 2 here. Bottom right, herO. Top left, Dark. Site Delta is going to be potentially the final battleground. Dark up 1, now puts herO on his very last life. And this sometimes happens, even with the benefits of history on herO's side. When you are just generally two fantastic players, there's no real imbalance of skill, I would say, even though herO wins more often. I feel like they can actually match against each other pound for pound. Against each other, literally, or you pair them up against other guys, you know, Dark versus Maru, herO versus Maru, Dark versus Beyond, herO versus Beyond. Like, I don't really see a lot of difference in their capabilities. Both herO and Dark able to defeat everyone in the StarCraft scene and able to get a championship at any time. So if that's the case, I really feel like even though the history favors herO, not that it doesn't matter, it does matter a little less. Like when everything's on the line, when there's a good day versus a bad day, it could actually be as simple as that. When you are in a little more of a supercharged tournament than just some online, not most important thing in the world, things can still favor the very talented, skilled player that maybe loses a little more. This seems to be happening here. And that's unfortunate. I mean, herO might have been in the know that he actually has a winning record against the guy, but it wouldn't shock me if he didn't. So many times I've talked to pro gamers, then they're very unaware of their history versus another opponent. Which is sometimes a good thing, actually. You know, you don't want to be very aware of a 10-70 record against someone. You don't want to feel that bad going into a match. But a lot of times these guys don't even pay attention. Like herO knows that he faces Dark a ton, but whether or not he's actually remembering that he beats him when there's a billion other pro gamers that he beats in the same time span and a billion other ladder games that he plays, maybe not. So that's why from the get-go I said that herO and Dark wouldn't really want to face each other. They are both one of the more likely players to get out. Crater with a little bit of the upset though. Forcing these two to battle it out. If you had guessed Dark herO as the advancing players, no one would have yelled at you, that's for sure. Target opening for herO in this game. And Dark did have to take his third. This is natural. Blah, blah, blah. If herO doesn't manage to make it through here, at least Creator is representing the Protoss, right? Right. And there's got to be one race with, there's got to be 2 races with only one representative. Yeah. Wait a minute. There's no Zerg. Hold the phone here. I'm just realizing that 2 Terrans made it out of Group A and Protoss made it out of Group B so far. So yeah, Dark would be the much needed Zerg visibility. Oh. Ah, Terran wins again. Suckers. Void Ray is coming out here for herO. That is after the Oracle yet again. You can't really read into this from this point in time because herO has so many variations post Void Ray. Dark, not going to bother trying to be a little tricky with the Overlord. They just kind of send it in the usual pattern. He is not going to be able to see this Twilight Council. I also didn't find it initially. It is way back there. And if herO had seen the Overlord chilling over here, and that's why he put it back over here, good idea. Very, very few professional Zerg players send 2 Overlords to their opponent's side of the map. Sometimes you sometimes see it kind of be a tricky thing, and it's actually really cool. Serral will 1 out of 50 games do this, and then the Voidary will never check over here, and then it's a free scout. And that is pretty cool, but it doesn't usually happen. And so, no scout from Dark on top of this fast resonating glaives. Yes, after Stargate, but still it's coming, and we know how powerful it can be. As we saw DRG crumble to it multiple times. Even if you know it's on the way, it still can be difficult to make sure that everything goes well against it. +1 melee choice for Dark here. herO hasn't scouted that as of yet. Can't really change his build even if he does. And the amount of harassment that he can get done will not only hamper Dark's defenses, but it will also hopefully stop him from really scouting and thinking about what he's scouting. If he's so panicked that he just let a stasis trap 20 of his drones, that he didn't even pay attention to what that Ling scouted, then that's a good thing for herO. That is a lot of adepts. If Dark defends this, he is in a very good spot to advance to the round of 4. Let's see if this does the magic it did versus DRG. Ling scout it. +1 melee, only about 70% done. Adepts nowhere near the mineral line, though, and that's always preferable. So while they get on top of a couple of queens, don't even kill it, actually. This isn't the best start for an Adept's attack. It's a little better if they do go into the natural, but with Banelings forming, they decide not to use that shade. Still have an opportunity to get the drones on the 3rd base. They try and go after. They collect 1 drone, and that is that. That is it. So far, only 1 drone has gone down. The Banelings making it impossible for the Adepts to shade to other bases. They're tracking them. And a simple Queen Ling drone pull-away defense is doing the work here. Meanwhile, Dark also trying to get a little bit of a run by, hoping that herO was a little late to some SimCity and reinforcing. Not going to be the case. Not going to find a freebie. Most importantly, still defending the Adepts back at home. That base actually might be a goner. The Adepts will not shade, and so they will not be able to escape the incoming Baneling attack. But, transfuses, not going to be able to save it. Adepts will give up their lives for it, though. The Voider will give up its life. The Adepts will all be dead. Every last one died. Also, 9 probes went down. Hello? Oh, I just generally thought that was over, but no, probes actually went down to 3rd base. Dark defends. He kills the entire army. He kills his opponent's economy. He has a superior upgrade. Everything's looking up for Dark right now, as he is also up 1-0. He's going to go for the throat as well. Not going to give herO that time to remax or, rebuild on Stalkers. The Banelings collect that shield battery. Now there's no additional healing. Force fields do not save the natural, although they're desperately trying to. That pylon's going to go down very, very soon as Banelings come forward. They're going to try and win the game right here, right now. Dark doesn't necessarily... He didn't necessarily have to do this if he had drone, but at this point in time, he does need to do damage. 49 drones, 51 probes. He's got to get into the main base. He's got to get into the natural. And now it's actually a question. Was that enough? Initially, it looked like really nice grabs, but it was not free. He did sacrifice a lot of potential droning, as well as obviously the Lings and Banelings, but he's not done yet. He does have a little bit more to throw out here just to at least buy time. A couple of more probe kills means a lot. As herO was trying to probe through all this harassment, he was hoping to get back up on the worker counts and is still down a little below. It's better than the alternative, because if Dark had not killed an extra 10 probes, herO's actually ahead by 10. Dark only just recently got back up to droning. And he's doing that while still being able to build somewhat of an army, too. So even though that looked really good and potentially game-ending, and I like that Dark has that killer instinct, it wasn't enough. It got exhausted. And Dark needs to make sure that he doesn't get fully exhausted in this game. He needs to move on. He needs to get to the drones, get to the bases, and get to the Hydras, which he currently is doing. So you can see that even his drone count is not very high. He is wary of what the Blink Stalkers could be doing. So he's not building drones. He's still setting up run buys, at the very least time buyers, using the rest of the army to do whatever they can to help out. Rocks being broken down. Creep spread could continue. We get the lay of the land, thanks to all the overlays. This is probably also a very difficult game for both players to read. I would not be surprised if you asked herO, you pause and you ask him, what do you think this game is? He might think that he is really desperate. Like, this is all in, I gotta win right here, right now, and I'm not actually sure that's true. Even supplies usually favor the Protoss, but Hydras are pretty good. Baneling's trying to crash in to save the Hydra's lives. They're gonna get caught in a stasis trap, so they'll come into effect later. +1 armor actually on the way for herO, about to finish. +2 melee also on the way for Dark. Needs those Lings to actually get involved in the fight, however. Finally, some on the front lines. Baneling's actually going to crash as much as they possibly can. The good split there from herO, who is, well, really all-inning with this. He is not building probes. He is not building a fourth base. He is not building technology. He is building Stalkers, and he is hoping he's going to win. And we won't ever know what happens if herO had instead used this as a pressure push and then tried to build probes, get to Archons, or whatever else he could have done, right? Even not mining off some of his gas. We'll never know. This was his choice. And it might be the right one if he actually overpowers Dark, but so far Dark's retention of his Hydras is good enough. That's really the defining factor, in my opinion. The Lings are sacrificing themselves, but the Hydras actually, so far, only one has died. They're getting their upgrades. +2 melee did finish for the Lings, so they're helpful even though there's not that many of them. Injects end up being a problem. Queens could be being built right now or pulled to the front lines if they're not being built. Anything is better than nothing. I'm actually really surprised that Queens are not being pulled to the front because they really need some buffer here for the Hydras. As long as the Hydras live, maybe eventually you can accumulate enough forces to protect them. And they're dealing a lot of damage with their DPS, but if you leave them vulnerable, the Stalkers have more micro-ability. I'm really scared about this, but so far the Lings are just barely trickling in enough to stop herO from getting the moment in which he does a herO blink. He blinks off of the Hydras. He knows that won't work out. There's some Banelings ready. There's some Lings pouring out. He knows he can't win right there. He did not shave off enough of the Hydras. And he's still dealing with Lings every so often. herO supply now just better than his opponents. 1-1 to +2. Missile nowhere near completed for this fight. Dark still holding on. Still actually finally, yes! He's actually bringing the Queens forward. He's rebuilding Queens as well. He's got to use his minerals however he possibly can. There's the herO blink forward, my goodness. Oh, the herO blink is maybe not a herO blink. I don't know about this one. Lots of Stalkers dying to the Hydras that in turn did not die. He was busy fighting drones, Lings, Banelings, the Zealots also not getting as many swipes as he was hoping for. Slow warp-ins really causing some problems as well as herO forced to entirely retreat, not having his reinforcements to help out, decides to blink forward into the Hydra's retreat. Extremely dangerous because you do not know what the reinforcements look like. If he had blinked into that and there was 20 Lings, he would have gotten surrounded right there. As it is, he doesn't get surrounded, but he's looking like he's wearing off the power spike. He had one for sure, but it is now gone. +1 missile also done for the Hydras. All their upgrades done. No immediate warp-ins for the Protoss. No plan B for herO. I think this is going to be it. I think it was only so close because herO's attack was almost immediate. But as soon as Dark gets some time to breathe and get injects popping and Lings accumulated, this is not going to work out for the Stalkers. As we can see here, Dark even aggressively pushing way off of creep, knowing he can get that surround. The Lings with +2 just decimating the Stalker counts. And herO doesn't win against Dark when it most matters. Who cares that he won the last 6 open cups against the guy? It is GSL that matters more, and Dark will be the one advancing to the round of 4 and representing the Zerg race. He's now comfortably on 5 bases, so, well, 52 drones isn't exactly comfortable, but hey, herO's not much better. The problem is the lack of splash. The Stalker count is no longer at that critical mass that can kind of cover itself, I suppose. So it would really need splash at this point. And he's trying to get to Robotics Bay. That's not going to happen. Dark is going to go for the attack. He's not going to let this one slip through his fingers. Not going to stay at home and just be thankful he lived. He's going to go for the 4th base. +2 melee, I think those Lings have it, even if the Stalkers try and kill him. Yep. Horned minerals down the drain. No shield battery to help out there either. No shield battery on the third. It was never replaced. And the only reason I think herO is in this is because it is the last chance to make to the round of 4. 40 supply difference is actually usually okay for a Protoss, but now we're talking about compositions, upgrades, positioning, and yeah, no shield battery either. And that was probably not going to save his life. Dark will 2-0 herO and will advance to the round of 4. It is Dark as the Zerg, Creator as the Protoss, and Maru and Cure as the Terrans. And I believe the round of 4 and the finals will be played next week, I want to say. And it might be the last GSL as well. So keep that little sad fact in your mind. I see some people saying that, they should really hype it up if it's going to be the last GSL. But the way that it works when it comes to actually funding GSL for like the last 12 years has been no news about next year. Well, maybe not the last 12 years, but for the last like 6 years, it's been no news about next year. And then towards the end of the year, they're told, hey, we're going to have another season. So it's actually very possible that even if they never mention the finale of GSL, that it actually could be. It'd be very sad, but I feel like it's still important to keep in mind. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the round of 8 groups, and I will be casting the semis and finals when they are released.